We are up to 16.
This week and already lagging.
So, what's your question?
So when I look at this and I go part 2, the authority, right,
Yep.
which equals work safe, then I go to part 2, the authority. You have a look at division 1.
Yep.
All the way through
I'll work.
to division 4, division 5, division 6 is pretty much to do with the authority,
Yeah, so
isn't it?
not all parts. So I look at this at the section. So it'd be section. If you go back to the very start of that part, no, the part you just had on WorkSafe, you'll see there's the numbers beside each of the bold writing.
Yeah,
That's what I use.
Section 8.
Yeah. So section 8, section 9, section 21 is employers.
But that sort of falls. So if you were to, like it sort of still falls under the authority, like section. I mean, that's pretty clear. That section.
Yeah, some of the sections under the part might not necessarily be relevant.
Which was sort of brought me to my next question, because section 6 doesn't sort of feel like to me that it belongs in.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So you need to read through it. The whole point of the exercise, this unit is about the law. Yeah. And it's the title of it is assist with WHS laws. So. Yeah. Just if you use the word assist, I mean that's really what the unit's about. So you don't have to know the document back to front, front to back. That's just crazy. But you are expected to have a level of knowledge where you can assist management and understanding the law, or know where to go pretty readily without having to stress too much about it. So that's basically what this unit's about. Is you understand. There is a couple of other little bits and pieces in, but basically it's about understanding the law.
Knowing
where to find stuff. So you've got parts, you've got divisions, but what is general use is sections. Yeah. So and the sections are the numbers beside the bold title. So if you look at section 21, that's employers' responsibilities. Section 25, we're about to look at now, is duties of employees. Yeah. So that's generally what's when you'll hear me talk about it all the time. You go section 25, section 32, but that's generally what is used. And the regs also are broken down into different parts as well.
Yeah, this one I find confusing.
Yeah,
this one I actually find confusing.
It's not actually. It's not.
So this one I'm going to have trouble navigating.
Because it's really that's kind of the overarching document. Yeah. So it's got no specific guidance on much. Like it has legal duties of different people. That's pretty much what it's about. But that gets into nitty-gritties about what if you've got a noisy environment, you've got lead in your environment, and what it's done is actually, if you look at the book, it's actually broken into different parts. They've got, basically you've got parts where hazardous places. Yeah. So you have a look, what's the title of one where noise fits? So if you look at part 3, what's part 3 title?
Physical hazards.
So noise is one. So physical hazards is one.
That's chapter 3.
Yeah, if you look at number 4,
manual handling,
if you look at number 4, what's number 4? So you've got 3 physical hazards. What's number 4?
Down to regulations is more.
Division 4.
Yeah, what's it called?
Authorization of assessors.
No, keep going. No, so what was number 3 called?
Chapter 4. Hazardous substance material.
So you've got hazardous.
Yeah. So there's division 4 and then there's the chapter.
Yeah, so chapter 4 is, so what's chapter 5?
Chapter 5. Hazardous
industries.
Yeah. So you can see there's a pattern. So there's a distinct pattern. So you'll find if you're looking, hazardous industries is mining, so your industry would fall under hazardous industries. Yeah. And you've got hazardous substances, which would be lead and asbestos and dangerous goods, and so that you can see.
When you want us to answer some of the questions within this book, it's more about.
So if you're looking for guidance for noise, for example, and what to do with noise in your workplace, because you've got a noisy workplace, that part, or those sections that deal with noise will give you absolute guidance of what you need to do to manage noise in the workplace.
Yeah.
So,
So I had a little bit of a look the other day, but I couldn't put it, and it was under licensing.
that's crazy. That's basically licensing's about stuff. Forklifts is one, boilers, so stuff that needs to be equipment that needs to be licensed, which is forklifts, boilers, and other equipment. So that's what licensing is about. So to go to licensing straight up, you're going to confuse the shit out of you straight away.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll go, wow, that doesn't make any sense. But if you look at the more obvious ones, like working at heights, hazardous manual handling, I mean, they're all the logical, simple ones to follow.
Yeah.
Once you get into licensing, it does get quite confusing. But the other ones, I mean, the whole document, every section of the Act, or not every section, every part of the Act, where it talks about hazardous manual handling, if you just look at that whole part of the book that deals with hazardous manual handling, it's all about risk management. So basically it'll say to you, identify the risks, rate the risks, control the risks, review the risks. So every single part of the book is like that. So if you take the helicopter view, and that's basically what it's doing. So it'll tell people, it'll give deeper guidance than that. Like it talks in a noise part, it'll talk about when people need hearing tests and da. So it goes into quite a bit of detail, which you won't get in the Act. The Act is sits above. It's more general terms, like the responsibilities of different parties, basically. That book does too, but in a different way. It gets more detailed. So the way I best describe it is most businesses will have an OHS policy, one OHS policy, but they'll have a whole stack of procedures sitting underneath that.
Yes.
And so if you like, that's the policy book. That's the procedure book. So that's the simplest way. If you understand how the policy and procedures work, that's the easiest way to explain it, because you'll have one policy, but you could have 20 procedures sitting underneath it. And that's basically what that is. It's just kind of the same. You've got the Act and you've got the regs.
So this is like the umbrella. And that's all of everything underneath.
Well, that also gives guidance on how to meet that, but in a lot more detail. So it breaks it down into smaller chunks, if you like. So I mean, again, the employer has huge responsibilities, and they're the same as they do in there. But in there, really, there's only one section or a couple of sections talks about the employer, but basically the whole book's about the employer's responsibilities.
Yeah, there's several sections with duties of employers.
Yeah, there's heaps of them.
Almost under every.
Well, that's right. There is. That's right. There's one under noise. There's one to handle manual handling.
Yeah.
So, and you'll start to see a pattern, and that's exactly the pattern. Like, what's the employer's duties when it comes to noise? What's the employer's duties when it comes to manual handling? What's the employer's duties when it comes to asbestos and lead? And so, they all follow the same. Once you start looking at each one of those sections, if you like, they all start to look the same. They follow the same pattern. So once you start, it's good we talk about it, because it'll save you, it'll give you a bit better of an understanding of what they are. Because that gives absolute guidance on, and what we haven't touched on yet, which we'll get to, is the compliance codes. I kind of touched on it, but haven't got into much detail about them. Well, the compliance codes line up with that book. So you'll find a compliance code on manual handling. You'll find a compliance, which we've used on the course. You'll find a compliance code on first aid. You'll find a compliance code on workplace amenities. So you'll find that the compliance codes line up. So they're basically layman's terms on how to meet the book.
So when you look at, some of these divisions, identification,
they repeat themselves all the way through.
Okay, and so that's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's identify the risk, control the risk of exposure.
The best way I can explain it, I directed you to this site a while ago. But it'll actually explain a lot. I'll open it up. Now, see all these?
That's my big thing.
If you go through each of those, they used to be an individual book,
Okay.
and now they're all in one book.
Okay.
And so basically, once you get there, so if you go through here, you've got plant, noise, manual handling, mines, major hazard, lead, issue resolution, incident notification, hazardous substance.
Gee, I did that.
They're all sections in that book. So what they did in 2007 was stop producing one book for each section, put them all in one book.
Okay.
So that probably makes help make it a little bit more sense, because each one of those sections you talked about, noise, and they actually had their own book at one point.
Okay, yep.
But what they did, when it was basically not long after they went, well, just before they went national,
So-
the law,
So for me, in my workplace, it's definitely going to be prevention of falls, plant noise.
Yep.
I don't know, would mines?
Yeah, mine's, well,
Mines have their own.
you're not really a mine.
Yeah, no.
You're not. You're just.
Manual handling, yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, all those
Yeah.
And then I wouldn't major hazard.
Well, major hazard facilities are, you know, when you go over the Westgate Bridge, heading into Melbourne,
Yeah.
and you look to the right, you see all those great big chemical tanks.
Yeah.
That's your major hazard facility.
Okay. So that's
So
not.
two
So
right.
like
lines,
the Shell depot, the BP depot, all those big chemical sites with the huge big tanks about 5 times the size of this room, they are hazardous.
Yeah.
So
So
We
because
work
they're
there in
out of,
September.
but they're out of date, aren't they? But that's just.
yeah, they're all. But that's basically all they did was put them all in one book.
Okay. Yeah.
So that may help you understand a bit better about that book.
Fine space.
Because once upon a
obviously.
time they used to be all separate books, but now they're not.
So then when I look at it, I've got plant noise,
Yep.
manual handling, I've got issue resolution,
Yeah, absolutely.
obviously.
Yep.
Incident notification, hazardous substances. Space, confined spaces we've got.
That prevention of falls as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, prevention of falls, yeah. And that would be
So
us,
does that make
really.
sense?
Yeah.
So yeah, they used to have a book for every one of them. They're about the same size or a bit smaller than the green book.
Yeah.
But what they did was, that's stupid, put it all in one book. And that's basically, that happened nationally. That went national a long time ago. So it just made more sense to put it all into one book. Because you used to be able to just buy like each individual book.
Yeah.
And I thought that's crazy.
So what's that on? Sorry?
That
Law
website I
Today,
handed out, it's called Law Today.
Legislation Victoria.
Law Today.
Yeah. It's one of the very...
Oh, www.legislation.vic.gov.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You might put that.
So don't use those because they're all out of date.
Yes.
Yeah.
But if you
Don't
think
use
about
them.
the sections,
If
it
you
makes
look-
it easier.
Except for the top two, occupational health and safety regs 2017.
So you'll see,
But the headings are still rough, still the same.
well, you might find some different headings in here. I think that's just called manual handling, and then here it's called hazardous manual handling. So that's the most current. But all these are out of date, and just look at those, I'll tell you that.
Except the owner drivers and forestry contractors.
Oh yeah, it's not normal.
So number 4, row 4.
Corporation.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one we use.
Yeah.
And that's when it was current. So 23rd of 10, 2018. Now, does that sort of make more sense?
And when I sort of go through the sections, you do see, identify,
Yeah, they pretty much, they do repeat themselves.
Yeah.
What was that one? Number 4.
What's
Fines codes are
on the first night, question 9, you said something about question 9. It was
I've got a copy of it.
not 2 point.
Question 9.
Yeah, you said something.
Yeah, that's
Instead of section 2.1.4, it's section 37 of the regs.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
I don't know what I was thinking there.
Yep, that's right.
I should fix that before I.
What is that, 37? Question 37.
Yeah.
Question 9.
9.
Question 9, yeah. Section 37.
Yeah.
I'll fix that and I'll resend. I'll print it out next week and bring it. I might even do it tonight. Be easier.
We're right.
Right.
So, any other questions?
Okay.
Sorry, I held up the class, everybody. Sorry.
No, it's good. It's good because no, it's good because it's good to do. It's better to discuss it with everybody here, so that everyone gets the same story.
Because I couldn't find it today. I was going to mention it before.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah,
That was the note that I
Yeah, don't get
handed you
stalked on the
late.
way home, though.
No, I'm going to be careful on the way home.
Did you hear? They wouldn't have heard.
Yeah, I got bloody followed home.
Stalked on the way home last week.
Last Monday night. Yeah.
by who?
I don't know. I don't know who they
Well,
were.
in your
but-
car?
Yeah, in my car.
When?
So,
Where
last
were you?
Monday night.
When you left here?
Yeah. on that road going down to, was it Pine Road or something like that?
Yeah, Pine Lodge Road.
Pine Lodge Road, down there. I was driving home and I didn't realise, like, they were miles up ahead. And you know the shape of it. You can see those little reflector things.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't realise the car was miles up ahead. I just thought it was those, well, where did he go? Freaking 5 miles ahead. Anyways, I had all my high beams on and my big bright lights on. And then as I sort of got down the road, I realised there was a car up ahead, so I just did my lights. But what happened is the car disappeared, right? So I just figured it turned off. I couldn't see it. So I just put my lights back on, and then next minute it come driving full tilt towards me. Bang! All the lights, all the bells and whistles, and I'm like, holy shit! I didn't even see you there. I'm sorry. I sort of gave it a flash, like, oh, sorry. He's gone past me, stopped, hit the brakes, started turning around, come back again.
Oh my
So he's
God.
come around, and I just put my foot on the pedal, and my husband, I'm like, I might need some help here. But lucky he got bored of it. He nicked off because I wasn't going anywhere near home. I was just driving super quick.
I would have gone there. Complete opposite way around.
Yeah, nah, see,
Oh,
I don't really think I can say what I did this one time on recording. We'll talk about it at lunch. Come back to me.
it scared the shit out of me.
That's why I've got weapons in my car.
A dude ended up with a crowbar through his windscreen. Oh yeah,
Right.
from me, doing the
I
same
seriously
thing.
thought I was going to be in trouble. I thought, I'm in trouble here. I knew it. As soon as I seen those brake lights come on, and he hit the brakes and done a U-box
He's
come back, I
driving
thought,
without
oh, yeah,
lights
I'm
on. How are you
I'm in
supposed to
trouble
know?
here.
No, she was following you to start with. But
Yeah.
So the law says 200 metres, so you're doing nothing
It was, no,
against
it's
the law.
miles. It was miles ahead. So he must have been pissed off because
But
I had
for him to
my
disappear from your view and then all of a sudden headlights on.
I know, well, I thought he turned off into a driveway. I had no idea where he went. And then I just put them back
So
on
he
again.
was-
And then next minute, I was like, bang. I was like,
He had his
holy.
lights off, like,
He
on the
had his,
side.
yeah. So he was, because I thought he just turned, yeah, he'd come waiting. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
So,
this one time that happened to me. But I smashed on my brakes. I got out of my car and put a crowbar through his windscreen. He went pretty quick. He nicked off.
Oh, God, no.
Anyway,
Anyway.
it's good to talk about it because we just learned a bit more about the law,
Yeah, no, that's,
overview stuff, and help. Well, just look at that page. It actually helps understand how it all came about. So they were individual books, but now they're one book.
Page
So,
Yeah.
79.
and that's why it all looks the same
Yes.
because they were the same.
Yeah.
79 of that
Yeah.
one, isn't it?
Yeah.
The regs. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I'm right.
Good. So
Thank you.
We'll get on and start into the next section. So we finished last week with self-employed persons.
Yes, we did.
Yep.
So now we're on to duties of employees. So hands up, who's an employee? You wouldn't normally be. And if you ask your CEO the same question, their hand will also go up because they are technically employees as well. So while at work, an employee must take reasonable care for his or her own health and safety. So basically, when you're at work, you know, you've got to take full care. You've got to take reasonable care for the health and safety of persons who may be affected by your acts or your omissions. So I've highlighted 2 words there, act. So what's an act? That's something you do. What's an omission?
Something you don't do.
Which is quite interesting. So we look at it again, take reasonable care for the health and safety of persons who may be affected by something you don't do at the workplace.
Don't roll that
I've
call
got a
out.
perfect example, mate.
Sorry?
Perfect example, mate. You walk past, you see a grate over a drain that's
Yep.
not over it, and you walk straight past it and you don't do anything
And do
about it.
nothing about it.
Next person walks past, he falls straight in.
Yeah.
That
So
will still
you-
come back under you because you saw it and rectified.
Proving it's a hard part.
Yeah, exactly.
But that example is exactly spot on. I usually talk about holes in the ground actually when I give the example. So that's a perfect example where you've got a hole in the ground, you walk past and go, bad luck, don't care,
So
Yeah.
it's you knowingly
ignoring an issue.
ignoring and
Well,
allowing someone to hurt
Yeah.
Yeah.
themselves.
Well, at the end of the day, you've got a duty of care to look after
is that
yourself
a
and others at
mission?
work. So
Yeah. So that's what omission is, something you don't do.
Try not
Yeah.
to
So it's
put
actually,
them in the bus.
no, you can skip through these words and not pay a whole lot of attention to them. But when you look at them, it starts to make a lot of sense. So something you do or something you don't do. You know, I'll go out on a limb here and say, you can talk about near misses at this point. If you don't report a near miss, like if something's happened to you in your normal day and you've just had a near miss, or I like to call them near hits, then, and you don't report it, then is that not that is where you haven't done something? So how many times have you not reported stuff?
Never.
I mean, the chances you would have been times.
Just about every day when we get abused for something.
Yeah,
I've
well, you
done
should
it.
be. So
Yeah, I've done it
Oh.
times.
Oh, well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
but
what I mean. So,
okay.
so if you're a nurse, how many times have you been abused?
I've had my wrist broken twice,
So
nose
if you,
broken
report, I mean,
once.
you would have reported those, but
Oh, yeah.
all the verbal ones you wouldn't have.
I worked in a dementia unit, mate.
Yeah,
Like,
well,
let's be
yeah,
honest.
We had a discussion about, well, last Thursday in one of the HSR calls, we actually talked about that dementia stuff. And a lot of the nurses, well, there's 3 or 4 people who work with dementia patients. It was last Wednesday with Ramsey Health, Sheffield Hospital. And they're saying, we don't report them because it's just, well, I mean, what are you going to do about it? And I said, it doesn't matter. What you're doing by reporting is starting to show a picture. So when you've got someone who's an OHS person who's working full-time doing OHS, they rely on that data to put up arguments to management to get change.
Yeah.
So if people don't report stuff, but we had, you know, our reception here was changed. So they come in and basically made the, someone had those.
The cleaner.
They changed the reception so there's a walkthrough. They didn't bother talking to the staff, and the staff got upset about it.
No consultation.
Yeah, well, that's another issue. But we'll talk about that when we get to that section. Section 35. But they said, oh, there's been all these issues, and we said, where's the reports? You're telling me there's issues. Have you ever put in an incident report about it? No. We said, well, how can I go in and argue for you if you're not reporting stuff? Now, if you've got customers abusing you and doing this and doing that, you need to report it. You need to put it on an incident report, submit it, and then so that we know the stuff's going on, because at the moment it looks like nothing happens here. So the decision's been made because nothing happens. Because you haven't told anybody. So don't go crook at them, start looking at yourself. Because you haven't done the reporting. So if every staff member that works in our reception area had reported, then there would be an argument, a really strong argument to say no.
Yeah.
But there's no history.
It creates a history,
Yeah, there's no history.
I think in dementia nursing, though, I can argue that you report and you report and you report. There's never going to be a drug that cures dementia.
No.
So it's always going to be the same problem. It doesn't matter what policies, procedures, behavioural, it doesn't matter what you bring in, the industry is never going to change.
Well, that's right, because look, some of it's because we're living so much longer. You know, that's probably why we tend to see more dementia now than what we did. Because if you get rid of modern medicine, most of us in the room would be dead by now. It's only modern medicine's getting us alive. Like back in the day, you go 35, 40, we pull most people up. And so, yeah, now we're going to our 80s and 90s, and it's all due to modern medicine. If we didn't have that modern medicine, then so that's why we're starting to see the brain deteriorating. I mean, there is some early onset, or they call it something younger or something now.
Early onset.
Yeah, there is. It's got another name now. My daughter-in-law's father's got it. They're calling it younger something now. They've changed the word. They don't call it early
Not that
onset.
I know of, but
Yeah,
okay.
anyway, yeah, they're not calling it early onset. They're calling it something else. So he's younger than me, and so that's the brain part of it. But generally, you know, as people get older, they start to the factory stuff disappear. So that's generally because people are living older. That's some of the
I know that.
So you're also required to cooperate with your employer with respect to any action taken by the employer to comply with the requirements imposed by or under this act or the regulations. So basically, if your boss is doing something to comply with the act or the regulations, then you are required to comply with your boss's.
Like wearing your safety vest.
Yeah, and that's basically that whole. You won't see anything in the regulations about wearing safety vests. You will see stuff in the regulations about other PPE, but certainly not safety vests. And that's exactly if it's a company policy. Then that's where that fits. So yeah, so if your company has a policy around we require you to do this from an OHS perspective, that's where that sits. So you as an employee have to follow what they require you to do.
Yeah,
Whether you like it or you don't like it.
I do most days.
A couple of the boys last week when it was real cold,
Yep.
they wear those jackets with the heaters in them,
Oh, yeah.
and they're complete black. Anyway, they show up to work in the morning
Yep.
with a black jacket, no high vis. Anyway, this morning we had our toolbox meeting, and the boss said, "I don't give a hoot. You wear a vest, something over the top of it. You can wear your jacket, but you've got to wear high vis
Yeah.
because
Company policy.
that's right. It's written there as you walk in the door."
Yeah. Yeah. So that's yeah. And for me, from an OH, when people talk to me about OHS, it's always they all say, "Oh, OHS is shit." No. But it's generally not. They're actually not referencing the law. They're actually referencing the company policies.
Policy.
And I always tell people, I said, listen, the Act is really simple, really simple. However, the problem comes when businesses interpret it. And so that's where it becomes really quite difficult. And look, I've got no issue, and I expect businesses to make their own policies and procedures around OHS. I
High vis
expect that.
is not law. It's not.
No, it's not.
No,
Well, it's not, but there's that.
it is when it's
Yeah.
part of the.
Yeah, so, and I have a real issue about.
Policy.
I have a real issue around procedures that are illogical. You know, if they're logical, if it's noisy, wear hearing protection, fantastic. If it's not noisy and you're asking people to wear hearing protection, what are you doing?
Hard hat in a car park.
Yeah, what are you doing? Yeah, that's exactly right. It's just like, you know, I quite often give the example when I was at Unilever. If you imagine a big square box, but one corner of the box was the warehouse. Every other part of the 3 quarters was noisy. So people had to wear hearing protection. There was hot products, so they had to wear safety glasses. However, so did the people who worked in the warehouse, where the only noise was a forklift, and so they had to wear hearing protection and safety glasses. And I argued that it was pointless. I'm in there policing a rule that's illogical, and I couldn't win it. So I'm out there policing it, going, so I didn't. Basically, if I saw people without hearing protection, I just walked past.
Oh, in that other section.
Yeah, with just a warehouse.
Yeah.
Warehouses are not traditionally noisy. Other parts of the factory were very noisy, absolutely. So they were expectation. But so that's what upsets me when you've got these illogical rules in place.
So who comes up with the
Well,
policies
it
then?
would be somewhere in management that's decided.
So
to do
their
it.
OHS team would have written a policy that it's mandatory for high vis or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah,
So,
that should be done on risk assessment.
Yeah.
That's my.
Or one of the big bosses has walked past and heard a loud noise, oh, you should be wearing
Well,
hearing protection.
Basically, it's the policing thing. Like, we're inside the 4 walls. This is the rules. But sometimes not everything inside the
it may have come about as also maybe that because maybe the employees don't understand it, it's a protection thing for themselves, they've gone into panic mode and gone, okay, well, doesn't matter. Hard hats, glasses, I'm going to bubble wrap you all, and then that eliminates that problem.
Well, then what they're doing is forcing on compliance.
Yeah.
Because if it's irrelevant and pointless, what they're doing is forcing non-compliance.
Yeah.
So basically, for all those people who are non-compliant, if I spoke to them once, I spoke to them twice, and the 3rd time they could get written up for it.
That's right. Yeah.
And that's stupid because it's a stupid rule.
Yeah.
So that should be allowed. And I reckon if they took that to Fair Work Commission, I reckon the worker would probably win it.
So we've got a no smoking policy in our workplace, right? And we've got one guy there. He's actually related to the boss, so he thinks he can do whatever he wants. And he'll just go out and smoke. Like he'll jump in a vehicle, because we've got a few work vehicles, and he'll smoke and he'll drop ash and everything. Anyway, he's been pulled up and he's been given a written warning last week. That's a company policy. No smoking shouldn't even be anywhere on the premises, but there is they've made a little smoking area just for him. And this morning he was told again.
Yeah. So next time.
Yeah.
Well,
he's got one
written up about it last week. This morning he shouldn't have been told. This morning should have been.
But this morning at the toolbox, the boss just brought it up like generally. Yeah. He just said, "This is our policy." Like blokes wearing music things in their ears.
Yeah.
That's no in our work.
Yeah, of course not.
Because there's already a radio in the whole building, the music, and I've actually caught a couple of apprentices with the things, music playing, and I'm calling them, and they just couldn't hear
Safety
me.
issue.
It's
Couldn't hear me.
safety issue.
Yeah, bloody hell.
There's an emergency, they need to evacuate.
And I went up to her and I was bloody tapping. I said, "What the F are you doing?" "Oh, I'm doing it." I said, "I've been calling you for the last 5 minutes." "Oh, I couldn't hear you." Well, hello.
Obviously.
Get rid of the bloody thing. You're not allowed to listen to music in your, there's music already in the workshop.
No, I wear a backpack at work, so I don't see the point of wearing my vest, then putting my backpack on. So I put the armhole of the vest over my head and have the rest of it hanging over the backpack. And the other bits hanging over the front.
So is that why you're driving the bus, you have to wear a safety
No.
vest?
Now, you're supposed to take it off, but there are quite a few that don't.
Yeah.
I call them glowworms.
You know, it's quite funny, you know, truck drivers aren't well known for wearing seatbelts. So when
And
they,
bus
I've
drivers.
been done.
so when they introduced the high vis, I know quite a number of drivers who had jumpers like that, and they got 100-mile-an-hour tape.
Yeah.
Coming across. So from someone coming the other way, looking for all intents and purposes, they had a seatbelt on. The inventiveness of some people is
Genius,
fantastic.
eh? Only left sort of
They
genius.
will put left-hand seatbelts in the buses these days on the driver's seat. So uncomfortable,
Yeah.
just ridiculous.
I've been done for
All
those.
American.
Anyway,
I never
I
had.
Can't
got pulled
reach
up and I'm
to the
thinking, what the hell am I being
ticket
pulled up?
machines,
I
I
haven't done
just
nothing
don't wear
wrong.
it.
Anyway, the copper goes, "You got a seatbelt in there, mate?" And I go, "Yeah, I have." He goes, "How come you haven't got it on?" And I said, "Because I never wear it in the truck." He goes, "Well, you're going to get done." And no excuses, no nothing.
No, that's
I've got
right.
done in a car park.
It's been law. I mean, it's been law since day one.
Yeah, I know.
It's always been law that when you're driving a motor vehicle, you have to wear a seatbelt. And that includes trucks. That's always been the case. But then they've let drivers get away with it for years. Truck drivers get away with it for years and years and years. And now they've decided.
Yeah, well, the truck I was driving had a.
Yeah, laptop.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So when I was at the milk factory over here, they actually took the seatbelts out, so we wouldn't have to wear them, which is quite interesting because it's still breaking.
It's a
It's still breaking
modification
the
of
law.
the.
That's not even
making a car roadworthy.
Well, the vehicle's basically supposed to have a fitment, so.
Yeah, it's unroadworthy.
But
Yeah.
the only people that are exempted are actually, well, I don't know if it's still done, used to say in the road law that garbage truck drivers, provided they don't exceed 25 kilometres an hour, don't have to use them. They get it out of the truck all the time, but they're not exceed 25 kilometres an hour. You don't have to wear one when you reverse, so that's still there.
I used to.
I got done reversing out of a car park. As I've reversed out of the car park, I've looked over my shoulder. There's a copper sitting right there. He goes, "No, put the lights on, and pull over, pull back in." Comes back up. He goes, "You didn't have your seatbelt on." So I was reversing, mate. I was reversing out of the car park. He goes, "It doesn't matter. You're in a bitumen car park. You're in that vehicle. You've got the ignition turned on. You're supposed to wear a seatbelt."
Here's another one. It used to be in reverse was exempt, so they might have changed it, but here's another one you won't know, I'm guessing you don't know about. If you're in your back paddock of your farm, you've got every gate locked, you still get done for driving.
Yeah.
I know that because my mate got done not long ago.
And riding a
in the
horse.
And riding a horse.
And property, you
Yeah.
get done.
And riding a push bike.
Yeah.
And you get drunk for doing burnouts as well on private property.
Can you?
Well,
On your own property.
well,
With the gates shut, locked.
they can try. If you listen, we've been in some predicaments, me and my mates.
My horse
It's
this
actually-
weekend with my
I was-
sneaky little can of.
I was second in charge of one of the burnout competitions over at Winton, which is more than burnouts, but it was like a 2-day event. And there was a copper standing in race control with us. And he said, he said, I'll go there and look at every one of those people. I said, private property, he said, doesn't include private property, mate. So I can go out there. He says, technically, I could even argue that it's a road-related area because, which is what a car park is, a road-related area.
Yeah, because as long as it's bitumenised,
Yeah.
it's classed as a
So
road.
it's open to the
Yeah.
public.
Yeah.
And basically, to stop him from booking people on the racetrack, the gates have to be shut and not accessible to anybody. But the gates are always open, so the only one that would be exempt would be the supercars, so they have controlled gates. But everywhere else, so if I go to Winton, I unload a car, drive it up, get it through near, drive it, every part of it is unregistered vehicle, unroadworthy vehicle on.
Well, see, our argument is,
Yeah.
How many
And-
unregistered roadworthies
No,
should they
no,
get there?
that's quite substantial.
Yeah.
our argument was, because we were out on private property, my mate's got a few thousand hectares, and he's got a concrete slab. So, you know, we take it out, the kids, you know, like they'll get on our laps and drive the cars and everything else. And we lock all the gates, and our argument was the cops tried to come in, well, it's private property, get a warrant. And they couldn't come on.
They can. The drink driving and burnouts, they can. The authority law says
They
they
didn't bother.
Yeah, well, they can. They don't need a warrant.
That's why I sort of had a look in this book here for the other day, and it was, and that's again, it was on the licensing sort of thing. So you don't have to have a license to operate something on private property, do you?
No,
if it's a forklift,
technically,
yes.
no.
If it's
For
a forklift,
forklift?
yes.
What about a motorbike?
No.
Technically, no, but you'll have no TAC if you get hurt.
That's right.
But a forklift you do?
Yeah.
Only a forklift?
Yeah, and yeah.
But what about like for us on the, in the quarry, like I drive the junk trucks and front end loaders and the bobcats, and I don't have a license or
Well, no, they're not.
competency.
They're not.
Yeah, but technically you shouldn't be driving them if you haven't
So it's
been
to do. It's
passed
to
as
do.
competent,
because-
verification of competency.
I don't have my competencies on it. I just drive them.
Yeah, you
So-
shouldn't be.
Yeah, it shouldn't be.
But it's private property though, isn't it?
Doesn't matter.
Yes, it is.
That's work safe though.
Yeah, you've got to be getting too confused here. We're talking about motor vehicles versus planned.
Yeah.
So there's
Sorry,
different.
my brain's gone off in a different
Yeah,
tangent.
totally
Sorry,
different.
people. Sorry.
Because
No,
if you
you're
got
talking about-
hurt,
You're talking about
Hey?
earthquake equipment.
if you got hurt, you'd get into big trouble with website.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
especially if you're
Because I
doing that
don't
at
have my
work.
competency.
Yes.
Yeah, and you're not licensed until you
Well,
get outside that
License to drive
machine.
them.
Let's
So
go
you'd
back.
be big.
Yep. You lose your job, you get
Section
fined,
20,
your
section
employer get
21.
fined.
Well, in section
Instruction
21, there is-
training.
I mean, like they've had a piece of paper, like, and he's signed me off as competent to operate it.
So there's some.
But it's not a nationally
No,
recognised.
some equipment you don't need that.
Yeah, there's a ticket for it, because I've
It's
got it.
ticket for
Yes,
it.
there is, nationally recognised, I've got it.
So
So
I don't have a ticket, but it's a piece of paper that the company.
can I just say, don't get confused between a license and a unit of competence.
No, exactly.
Yeah, different
Two
things.
completely
Sometimes
different
with
things.
drug licensing, it does fall under unit of competency. Some forklift falls under unit of competencies, but for some plan, it doesn't require a unit of competency. As long as you're signed off and they're comfortable that you can drive it, it's a bit like a garbage truck at the front lift. You know, they do it internally.
So you have to be a trainer.
Provided you prove that there's training
Yeah.
and you're confident, they don't need to be.
And he has to
there is
be a
no
trainer
license
assessor
on
to
it.
sign you off on
Yeah,
that.
but you still have to have a heavy vehicle license to
Not
operate a dump truck, don't you?
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
So we
Well,
use,
technical light rigid, technically.
Yeah, but I needed my heavy
Well,
rigid for a concrete agitator truck.
Yeah, because it's got 3 axles.
Yeah.
It's to do with the axles. So 2 axles,
Yeah.
150
Medium.
ton, 2 axles is a medium.
Right, yeah. I've just assumed that.
That's to do with how many axles.
All the town buses are medium,
I thought they might have had three.
but
Because we
all
use
coaches
boom
are
lifts and-
heavy.
we use boom lifts and scissor lifts, and we've got to have
If
tickets.
you go over
tickets
with
for all
with
that.
those,
Because that's a high risk license.
for those, it's over how many height, how far you go up.
Yeah,
If it's over 8 metres, you need a license, under 8 metres, you
Meters you
don't.
don't. But that's only on a scissor lift.
Yeah.
In an EWP, because that's got the potential to go up
yeah,
35, 70, 84, 135.
booms, yeah.
You need,
Yeah, there you go. I think the law is around 8 metres.
yeah, it is.
I remember when I got my boom lift ticket.
So I'm not in that area, so.
So we've got
Dinner?
we've
I'm
got
on all
a,
them tickets,
Huh?
I know.
Yeah, no, I didn't know before I left.
19-year-old excavating off the base and he's not.
Well, you don't have to be ticketed for some equipment.
No, Excavators.
It's like a backhoe.
Excavators.
There's a lot of stuff you don't. you
Sure,
don't
it's
need
at the
tickets for.
employer's discretion as well, though, but the person who's signing those people off has to be a trainer assessor.
Yeah.
Or they can't sign those people
Well,
off.
they don't have to be a trainer assessor, they can be a competent.
A competent person,
Okay,
yes,
so
yes,
I'm
yeah.
okay because I've been signed
Yeah,
off
no,
to
there's, so
operate
there
that.
is
Yeah.
some plan
Within
that
the
need to be
company.
licensed, there's some plan that doesn't need to be licensed.
Yeah.
So, and that's the bottom line. So if you need a license for it, then you should have a license for it. If you don't need a license, there's a lot of stuff you don't need a license for.
So maybe to cover the company, you need to check out what vehicles you need to be licensed to be driving.
Yeah, and that doesn't fall under what we're doing, so I'll leave it alone.
Yeah.
It's just too hard.
No, but
Something I can't
as
answer
a
everything, so-
OHS officer or,
Yeah,
Just
there's
for our
a
own
OHS officer, I'd probably be
Just
covering
make
my
fun of
arse and
website.
getting those tickets just
yeah,
because there's a ticket there
It's
for
all
them.
anonymous. Let's bring work safe and say, what
requirements,
equipment do I need a license to operate?
Oh, it's just handy to know that information too.
Yeah,
So if you go
yeah.
into somebody, like say if later on down the track, someone, you know, and whenever, if I pass and have, I hope I do, and some farmer goes, do I need a license to drive my
Well,
tractor?
you
You sort of need to know that information, don't you?
well, no, you don't. I don't know. No, you can't know everything.
You need to know where
I don't
to
know.
access
Technically,
the
no.
information.
You need to know where to go. So I'll just bring
Did you
work safe.
steal all the Monte Carlos?
I stole 2. There's another like 6 in there.
No, so the boss years ago, he said pretty much, if there's a ticket that you can get for a particular machine, you should be getting it to cover your ass in case anything goes wrong.
Not all equipment requires a ticket.
No.
So work safe would be your best place to go. Ask them. So just say, if someone worked in a quarry, what licenses or what requirements do people have? Do I need, so for 150 tonne dump truck, what do I need? If it's off road, if I'm driving a bulldozer, what do I need?
Look at an excavator.
Excavator, what do I need? And you'll find most of them don't need a license.
Yeah. Just need
It's just,
confidence.
just need to be signed off internally to say you're competent to operate.
Yeah.
So that's simple as that. Because a lot of them you don't need. That's
Yeah, but some job sites require you to have them.
yeah, that's why they may ask you, but they may insist that you've got the unit of competence. And so that's a local choice.
So I remember my dad and brother had to get them, even though they'd been driving the drag lines and excavators for years.
Yeah.
To work on a particular site, they had to actually get the ticket.
Yeah, so a lot of tickets, they've done a lot of tickets, so it's,
Yeah.
I don't know, it's not my area, so I don't know.
The tickets are pretty much proven that you're competent to
Yeah.
operate that machinery. Yeah, that's what they just show.
All right, sorry.
That's all right. So,
Must comply.
so this is the next part of that, so you'll notice that that's 1 A, B, C. So now we're on 2. While working, employee must not intentionally or recklessly interfere with or misuse anything provided at the workplace in the interest of health, safety, or welfare. So basically, if anything's provided, so it could be a gardening machine. It talks about health, safety, and welfare. So welfare is an interesting one. So that's locking the dunny so no one can use them, or whatever. Taking the shower heads off so no one can have a shower. Emptying the first aid kits in your bag and taking it all home. Any of that is. So anything provided in the workplace in the interest of health, safety, or welfare. So people are not allowed to take cars off machines. They can't fiddle with stuff as long as it's provided in the benefit of health and safety. They can't be touched. People do. People fiddle with stuff.
Fine for that.
Yes. And when you have what's penalty? What's 1,800 penalty? It's about 300,000.
Yeah.
That's maximum.
Yeah, maximum, yeah.
So maximum $300,000 for that offence. It's quite substantial.
Which so it should be too, I don't, for some of the law.
So what we've got here is section 26, duties of persons who manage or control workplaces. This is generally people who are supervisors, managers. So it talks about not just manager or control workplaces. So you might not even be a supervisor or leading hand, but you might have control of the workplace. So you might be the senior chippy at the building site, for example. Like you're building a house down in Kyala, and you might be the senior chippy on site, so you've got all the control of it. Or it could be a team leader, it could be a manager. So a person who, whether as an owner or otherwise, has to any extent the management or control of a workplace, must ensure so far as reasonably practicable that the workplace and the means of entering and leaving it are safe without risk to health.
I looked at this one today.
Yeah, it's interesting. She got entering, yeah, because you would have been part of what you're talking about anyway. And that's where WorkSafe are as well.
Yeah.
They might not have said that's where they are, but that's where they are.
Yeah, a penny drop straight away. So,
Yeah. So basically, yeah, we've got to provide a safe exit and entry to the workplace.
Yeah.
So if it's not provided, then it's workshop section 26. That's all it is in that section. So that question about before about who, that is question 9 or question 6. This will cover off all the stuff. All this will cover off here.
yes,
It's just working out which answer belongs to which question.
Yeah.
But they all sound so much alike.
Yeah, but they're not. They're very different.
That's because you wrote it, that's why.
They sound very much alike.
Yes.
Yes, end of it.
Yeah, they are very
Not
different.
that smart end of it. He knows the answer.
So section 27 is the duties of designers of plant. So this is someone who actually physically designs plant. So what's plant?
Machinery.
Generally it's
Tools.
machinery, tools.
But not a bus.
Could be a bus.
According to legislation, no.
According to the regs, according to the Act, yes.
Yeah.
According to the Act, yes. And I think I pointed that out at the time, that the Act and the regs have got different
Interpretations.
different definitions.
There's something I read on the weekend that specifically excludes buses as from plants.
Yeah. Yeah, in the regs, but not in the Act.
How are you supposed to work around that shit?
No, because there's a section in the regs about plant.
Yeah.
And so in that section in the regs about plant, it's got a definition of what plant is. And it's a different definition to what's in the Act. So the Act definition is really broad, really broad, and it includes buses, it includes trucks, it includes hammers, but if you look at the regs, it doesn't include hammers and hacksaws and stuff like that. So no, it does talk about rip and tear. So that does include saws. But yeah, I've actually pointed that out. I think it might have been the first or second night. I pointed out that there is a variation between the two when it comes to the definition of plant.
Might have been second because I haven't been. Don't remember that.
Yeah. So yeah, I did say that it's different. And the WorkSafe will always use the Act because it's more broader. So more likely to get prosecution.
So this would be more, this would be more targeted at engineers and stuff like
Yes,
that.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, people who design it.
Yeah, they're designers of it. So.
Designers of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, so if you say, for example, they want to bring in a conveyor belt in your business, or any business, really doesn't matter. You might be making the conveyor belt for somebody.
So you'd be the designer.
So yeah, well, you might have someone in your office who does the designing of that, but this is what it's about. So it's people about sitting back with their square rules and just actually physically designing a plan.
Yeah.
So the person who designs plans, who knows or reasonably know that the plans to be used at a workplace. So that's
Supervisors, managers.
provide safe and healthy design, carry out any testing or examination to make sure that it's not going to hurt anybody, and provide adequate information to those affected. So now, how often does that happen? Well,
Well, I think
it
that's,
doesn't happen that often.
but we've got,
I mean, you get a little instruction book maybe, but if it's a manufacturing piece of plan, does your designer, have you got guys in the office to do the design work?
Oh, we did have, he left.
Yeah, but anyway, you know what I'm talking about. So
Yeah.
with the business provided that to people who bought it?
Actually, a guy came up, he designed a machine that stacks bottles into a crate.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did.
You did, yeah.
And he had a bit of a book, he had a booklet there. And
Yeah.
explained
That's what they're supposed to do.
all the parts and
You know, we just bought a whole stack of new equipment out here in the bakery, and they provide a whole stack of operators manuals, which is what we're talking about.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. Because actually, I had to do that for our workplace a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Go through all our machinery and make sure we've got all the manuals and everything, just to make sure everything's up to date.
Yeah, well, it's not up to you to provide, it's up to the manufacturers.
No,
Yeah.
but yeah, just to make sure we got them. Otherwise,
Yeah.
we've got to get them.
Gotta get
We
it.
might have lost them over the years.
Yeah, it's and look, this doesn't happen a lot. Yeah, it'll happen with, that's about structures and buildings, but yeah, with manufacturers it might happen, but not necessarily from the designers point of view. Mind you, the designers and manufacturers are generally the same place, but not always. You know, designers can be off somewhere else, they pump it through to you and
Yeah.
someone's bought it, so you've got to build it to their specs and
I was
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
say that because
so what about,
to use that bit of machinery, you have to use it to the manufacturer's specifications. So.
so what
Yeah.
about in reference to that, does that fall under maintenance doing catwalks? Like putting together catwalks and building
Absolutely.
them,
yeah, this we're talking about the design here.
the design, yeah.
Was a catwalk planned?
Yes, well, it's
No, it's
potentially
not.
planned,
No, it's not.
it's not.
Just a walkway.
Structure.
It's just a
Yeah.
walkway. So that would fall under the building act.
We'll see the,
That'd
we
be
call it,
S28, section 28. Designers of buildings and structures.
Yeah. So really, that sort of stuff falls under the building act. Yeah. So we're not doing the building act.
yeah, right,
That's
yeah.
about that big. Yeah, actually, takes this big. It's about that big.
There's a lot
We'll take more
of
than
things
6
to go
months.
wrong.
Take a buttload more than 6 months to get through it, I'm sure.
I was just because, yeah, that like the crushing plant, we call it plant obviously because everything's sort of, so that,
Well, because if the walkway's on a piece of plant, well, then you could argue that it's a part of the plant.
well, it is on the plant.
Yeah, so is it part of the plant or is it just a walkway that's
It would be because
No,
those
it's on-
walkways are put there by the designer of the plant,
Exactly.
the manufacturer of the
the
plant?
manufacturer.
thing.
Exactly.
The plant, the whole
Yeah.
thing is it's all.
So you could argue in that case that it is part of the plant. Duties of designers and building structures. The chances you guys being involved in this is so remote, it's not funny. But if the building is without risk to health, the person's using it as a workplace. So basically, if you're building, if they decide to build a new work shed beside your place, then it's got to make all the health and safety requirements.
And don't use flammable cladding.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Mm.
Manufacturers of plant. Person who manufactured a plant or a substance must ensure that manufacturing is safely reached the health carrier testing. And you can see that's very similar to the other one, of the designers. And again, I can assure you that this doesn't always happen. You know, I've seen conveyors built by engineering mobs, and they certainly will hurt them. You've got pinch areas and rollers that are exposed, and chains that are exposed, electric motors that are exposed, and it's just it really is. This is an area that manufacturers fall down big time. Mind you, they're only working most times to the designers, what the designers come up with. But yeah, we ordered a conveyor at Unilever, and it was before it was ordered before I got there, and it arrived while I was there. And I just went out there with a couple of people, the operator, HSR, and the manager.
And tagged it.
Yeah. We went on using this, look at it. And that to me comes in as part of your pre-purchase risk assessment. Because you make sure that you're really clear when you're ordering. And that's where a lot of companies fall down, is actually in the ordering process. So I might come to you and say, I want you to make me a conveyor, 6 foot long, 2 foot wide, with a 3-phase electric motor, and that's about all I tell you. So, of course, so you build it and give it to me, and it's got all the enormous amount of issues around it. So,
No guards.
everything's exposed and can rip your fingers off. And so there's a responsibility. So even though the design might have got it wrong, there's a responsibility of the manufacturer to make sure that it's right. And that doesn't always happen. So they'll build exactly what the designer said.
Yeah,
The
we've done that
specifications I was given.
Yeah. So and that'll be their argument. But then really, you can blame. Well, if the designer designed a piece of plant and you built it and it was unsafe, then you both go and get it in there. So that's work-safe approach. You should have known better because you're the builder, and you should have known better because you're the designer.
But that's when variations come in, you make more money.
That's right. Bring it on down. But it's actually quite this carry-out testing stuff too is really important because that's basically that risk assessment part.
Yeah, we made some conveyors for across the road, and they were coming up and back for weeks.
Yeah,
So,
making changes. Yeah, they weren't happy with some part of it.
Well, it wasn't working.
Well, probably something they designed.
Yeah, it was. That's what I'm saying. That's when variations come in.
Yeah, so it's so before it really gets used, there's got to be some sort of testing. I'd call that a pre-commissioning risk assessment. That's really important to do that. So much to make sure we're building. Okay, let's just run it and make sure it's not going to hurt anybody. Oh shit, I didn't say that. We're looking for that. We're going to fix that before we send it out. It doesn't happen very often. That's what should happen. Suppliers. So this really is about people bringing stuff in from overseas. Okay, look, it's the same thing. So a person who supplies plant or substance. So understand we're also talking about substance here as well, which is chemicals.
I was going to say.
Yeah, so we just focused on plant in our discussion, but it also includes hazardous substances or dangerous goods. So people who manufacture dangerous goods or hazardous chemicals.
Yeah,
the same responsibilities. So, I mean, some chemicals are not manufactured to be safe for their risk to health.
Acid, what?
Oh, anything.
Yeah,
Domestos.
exactly, yeah.
Can't have a drink of this.
Yeah.
Domestos. Everyone knows that white king's made in shit, don't you? You can buy local, it's made local.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
White King?
Yep.
Oh, shit.
Same as your Jiffy Firelighters, are all made in shit.
Pension?
Really?
Pencil soap, yeah. Well, most of the hard soap that's for sale anywhere in any supermarket is all made in shit. Except for Dove. But everything else is made in shit. So all the home brand and Country Life and all that's made in shit. All the hard soaps.
It'll work at Penton.
Drummond Road.
Sorry?
Drummond Road?
Yeah, the sales.
Yeah.
Sales
I
are
should
shit.
have known that.
So this is along the same lines. This is about stuff coming from overseas, and that's generally speaking, as a rule of thumb, if it's coming from Europe, it's going to be okay. If it's coming from America, maybe okay. But it's coming from Asia,
China.
there's some doubt about it. Look, some parts of Asia are fine, but some parts of Asia are not so fine. But India's a bit of a worry, China's a bit of a worry, but Singapore and Thailand are not so bad. Japan's certainly not that bad. So you've got to be careful about saying Asia, but because India is classed as part of Asia. So, but yeah, just understand. Instead of Europe, generally is pretty good. America, most times it's okay.
Germany's usually spot on.
Germany.
Yeah, look, anything in Europe, even English, is not that bad. But once you get into the Asians, then it's a bit hit and miss. I mean, just have a look at that Great Wall. Utes are coming to Australia with asbestos gaskets. I mean, there's no way known if anywhere else that would have happened, but because I'm made in China. Yeah. They recalled them all and replaced all the using gaskets because they were made of asbestos. Well, they had asbestos in them. My son-in-law's father was working at the Great Wall distributor here in town. He thought it was all about slum and teacher. So he spent weeks and weeks and weeks pulling those down and putting all the gaskets in them.
And
What
the
an
guys had to wear
absolute
hazardous suits.
couldn't
A bit like the airbags, really.
Yeah.
That's the big stuff up in
Then it usually the one they supplied to fix it. Well, my son's it's gone back, Stephen's gone back twice to get the airbag replaced. They put one in it and it was no good. They put it back and put another one in it. So the one they produced to fix the one that was bad as well.
So how do they know? Like, oh, because it got recalled again.
Yeah, so
So
you got contact again.
somebody must have had an accident.
So it's had two airbags put in it.
Yeah, my
They get
daughter's
work.
car.
2007, this control, so it's 12 years old.
My daughter's got a
Yeah, you had an accident.
Ford Fiesta. They've changed the gearbox twice.
Yeah.
Got
I've
recalled.
got a range that's done 40,000 had a gearbox change.
So section 29 and 30 is sort of for importers, is it? People
Yeah.
who import, yeah.
So 29 manufacturers, one's importers, suppliers. It talks about suppliers. So really, you could argue even if it's made in Australia, and I'm supplying it to you, so I'm acting as a middle party.
You're the supplier.
Yeah, I'm the
Yes,
supplier. So if I'm
So if you import it,
so if I'm
then
Bunnings,
distribute it
if
here.
I'm Bunnings, I'm the supplier.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
Yes.
You're the middleman.
Yes. They're getting a cream for doing nothing. Yeah. But, well, section 31, duties of persons installing, erecting or commissioning plant. You again, Michael, this is you again.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yes.
I've
pick
done
on
this
you.
as well.
it is.
So, installing, erecting or commissioning plant. A person installs, erects or commissions plant who knows or reasonably know that the plant is to be used in the workplace. So, might be going to some place other than a workplace. So far as reasonably practical, nothing about the way in which the plant is installed, erected or commissioned makes it unsafe or risk to health. So that's a biggie. And basically what they're doing is everything that's from the design stage through to the build stage, through to the installation stage and the commissioning stage is covered. That's what it's done. So if you look at it holistically, you've got that design, build, install. It's just been covered off with those 3 or 4 sections. So what they're trying to do is make sure that when stuff goes into a workplace, that it's not going to hurt anybody.
You know, we installed a baler in Safeway.
Yep.
We installed 2 actually, one in Yarrawonga and one in Cox.
So this is a couple.
Yeah, baler, right. So the Yarrawonga, we went in, installed it, everything. Nobody asked for nothing. We just signed in and signed out. The one in Cobram, they wouldn't let us in unless we were inducted. So that we had to do induction online. It took 2 days for it to go through. And then we get in there and they wanted everything in the book explained to them before they even started using it.
Good.
Yeah, I know. But I'm just saying that. So how does that work from one to the other?
Yeah, no, it should be the same.
They should be both exactly the same.
Managers.
The different approaches of the workplace.
Yeah, the same business. But again, as I said to you earlier, it's how the business interprets the law that makes the problem. And that's a perfect example. Same business, 2 different managers.
Yeah.
Right.
And
I couldn't
got
believe it.
Totally different approaches to
Couldn't
it.
believe it.
I got asked by a transport company that's based out of Sheppes and has green and white trucks, mostly with a bit of white on them, many years ago, asking me to write a whole, those were quality managers, to write a whole stack of procedures around how to operate the transport business, because they were after a contract and the business had been asked. And I said, more than happy to write them for you, Danny, more than happy to write them for you, but are you going to actually enforce them? And implement them? And he just looked at me and said, if you're not going to, I'm not going to bother.
Waste my time.
So I'm not going to bother. So if you're looking to me to be your saviour, I'm not going to help you out. I'm more than happy to take your money, but if you're not going to actually enforce them, now if you only want me to write a truck driver drug and alcohol policy, and basically you're going to turn a blind eye and taking drugs and alcohol, then you're not going to police it. Then what's the point of having it? And just I don't want to do it. Basically, so I never want to kick.
And you sort of covered your ass a bit too.
Well, that's right, because my name will be on.
That's right.
Okay, well, look, it's up to them to police. That's the same anyway. Section 32, absolute favourite section. We've touched this one already, haven't we? In our HSR training.
Yeah.
This is a biggie. Duty to not recklessly endanger persons at work. A person who, without lawful excuse, recklessly engages in conduct that places or may place another person who is at a workplace in danger of serious injury is guilty of an indictable offence. Straightforward. And is liable to, in the case of a natural person, a term of imprisonment not exceeding 5 years, or a fine not exceeding 800 penalty units, or both. So this is the only time in the Act you're going to see reference to going to jail. In the whole
Perfect
Act.
example of
So,
that.
like the hazing that used to happen.
On May, he's sitting in a machine, and our other workmate was trying to get his attention. Picked up a rock, threw it at the window, shattered, glass in his eye.
Yep.
Really lost his eye. Had months and months off work because it ended up tearing something in his eye as well. It moved around to the back of his eye and tore something. Yeah, we had to turn around just to save this other mate's ass.
Yeah.
A truck was flying past and the rock kicked up and smashed
Well,
the window.
in one of the audio, we play in our health and safety group training, we actually play an audio of a guy who was a roof tiler, who was on a building site, and was shooting nails in the apprentice up to 20 metres away, got the apprentice in the eye, blinded him, and got sent to jail for it. It was a correction, it was an intensive corrections order, which basically meant 12 hours of work he was in jail. So basically he showed up at the Shep police station, they put him in jail from 7 o'clock at night to 7 o'clock in the morning and then let him out again. But that's what the magistrate ordered, so that's what happened. So, but yeah, you can
Who would actually be stupid enough to shoot a nail gun at someone? Like, you got to be really dumb.
Another example was where an apprentice was sitting on the apprentice panel beater was sitting on the toilet, and they threw thinners under the
Thinners and
toilet
set it
door
on
and set
fire.
to it. It's part of this induction stuff.
Yeah.
It still goes on, unfortunately. It still goes on.
Hazing.
Yeah, it still goes on. And for the body corporate, actually that's changed, so I should fix that right now. It's now 20,000 units.
Okay.
So it should be, though.
So that's our 3 million. I'll fix that right now, so I'll next time.
What's happened?
Said
Has the other one gone up as well?
It's actually
No.
20,000 now.
No, so this is basically for the business. So that's up to about $3.3 million they're fine now.
So it should be.
that changed from September last year. That went from 9,000 to 20,000 building units. So I'll just go through the words again because there's some really important parts to this. A person who without lawful excuse. Who has lawful excuse to hurt people in a workplace?
Everyone. Oh,
No one has the lawful
no one
excuse
has
to hurt people.
In a workplace, yep.
police.
I was going to say police, yeah. I was
Yep.
gonna
They can
say-
spear tackle you, they can cuff you, they can taser you, they can squirt shit in your face, they can even shoot you.
They won't because it's Australia.
Your fellow
Let's be
co-workers.
honest.
No, it says without lawful excuse. See, a person who
Police
without
said.
lawful excuse. So who has lawful excuse?
Police
The police have lawful excuse. You could argue the military too,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's stretching it.
Yeah.
You could argue, but if there's a civil unrest and they call the military in, I mean, we are likely to do that in Australia, but
I suppose in a way security guards sort of.
no.
No.
Oh well,
In a way,
they
like
carry guns and are licensed to shoot.
yes, that's what I mean. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
So they can shoot.
Not all
so-
security, obviously,
Like
but
a badge
like
or
your
something.
armed
But
guards.
they can certainly have the authority to physically restrain you.
Yeah. So
So
that's a lawful excuse.
that's all.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So technically speaking, I hadn't thought about that, but you're right. So this is going to change. Well, there's talk now in Victoria that this is going to change. So what it's going to say, who in the workplace in danger of serious injury is guilty of an offence under the Crimes Act.
Instead of indictable.
So what that basically means, what sits inside the Crimes Act is murder and manslaughter. So what it's going to say is in danger of serious injury is guilty of an offence under the Crimes Act. So it's basically opening up the book
Anything.
to whatever sits in the Crimes Act. They can charge either employees with murder or manslaughter. That hasn't happened yet, but I know they are talking about it in Parliament. It's not the first time it's been talked about. When we went from the 1985 Act to the 2004 Act, that was asked of then, and that's what we got, was this. But they're now pushing harder again for industrial manslaughter and industrial murder, and basically what they'll do is reference the Crimes Act. So what they'll do is they go, okay, Section 32 is guilty of an offence under the Crimes Act, so we'll flick open the Crimes Act. Go, okay, yeah, manslaughter, yeah, murder, yeah, anyway. So then what happens then is you get charged with Section 32, and then when it goes to court, you'll be charged with industrial manslaughter, and then you'll face the consequences of, it could be an employee or an employer, will face the consequences of, I don't think they'll go with murder, I think they're all likely to go with industrial manslaughter. It could very well
Unless I
be.
intentionally run over someone.
Yeah, that's right. It could very well be murder, but it'd be more likely to be manslaughter.
And that pisses
So you can see that's basically what it is with culpable driving.
Yeah.
That's motor vehicle manslaughter.
Yeah.
It's culpable driving. So that's what that
You
is.
don't intend to kill the person, but you killed them anyway.
Because of stupid acts.
Exactly right.
So yeah, not everyone who kills somebody will be charged with culpable driving.
No.
But if it's proved that you're doing something stupid, then there's a thought that you were doing something stupid. Like this morning in Melbourne, those 2 kids were killed by someone doing something stupid and stolen a car.
My mate got done with for about 10 years ago now. He was driving with his 2 mates, they were stoned.
Yep.
Been smoking weed. Did a burnout, lost control of the car, hit a pole, killed his mate.
Yep.
He
They're
ended
charged
up
with culpable driving.
ended up doing just under 5
Yeah,
years.
because culpable driving is usually anywhere between 3 to 8, 9 years generally for culpable
I
driving.
think he's done a bit over 4 years. So.
That's generally where if you watch the news, that's generally where the range. I don't know what the maximum is, but it's generally sits in that 5 to 8, 10, 9 year range.
A lot of people
What
get off
happened this
on
morning
mental
with the 2
health,
kids?
so-
I didn't hear.
There's a stolen car. There was 5
Stolen
kids in a
car,
stolen car. The driver was 18, I think.
No, he's 20. They posted on the news
Oh,
tonight.
20 was he? Anyway, just ran a red light and cleaned up a woman. She's
With
okay.
their 2 kids.
With the 2 kids, like
They're in
5 and 3
critical
in the car.
condition.
In a car.
Yeah, and the car that hit them, the 2 young kids were killed in the car because
Yeah,
the
in a
offender
stolen
stolen car.
Two
They were
kids
16
died,
and
16 and
14.
14.
One of them had just hitched a ride.
No,
or
16 and 18.
Yeah.
Just not long 18.
And there's
16
three survived. One got bugger injury, one got minor injuries, one's got life-threatening injuries.
Passenger walked away with a scratch on him.
Yeah, and two were killed.
Two killed in the back. That's what I got a mate here on the causeway. Oh, I'm back. 37, so 19 years ago, my 18th birthday. I might have been my 19th birthday. Anyway, driving on the causeway, he had a crash, picked up these two hitchhikers. There's my mate in the front and his mate driving. Two hitchhikers in the back, and with another mate. The driver ended up dying. He got burnt alive because the airbag.
That was just a little pneumonia.
And my mate and two of those girls, I think one ended up quadriplegic, the other ended up paraplegic, and my mate's got two steel rods up his back, and the passenger seat walked away with their scratch. Yeah, and that was from speeding.
That was close to Marina.
Yeah.
Remember that clearly.
Yeah, they're on their way to pick me up, but then they saw these girls hitchhiking and picked them up.
That's
probably
Good for
no,
you.
exactly. Yeah, like
Nothing for you.
yeah,
But they might have been shown off with you, which I thought
exactly
showed off
right.
the girls.
Yeah,
That's right.
exactly right. So
So this is
I'll never forget that night.
what's an indictable offence?
It's an indictable offence, anything under crime. Not anything that
In Victoria, we have two offences. We have a summary offence and we have an indictable offence.
indictable offence, you must turn up to court.
No.
Summary offence.
You're supposed to have to
Issue
go
the
to war.
summons.
Yeah, if it's some you have to, and that's an indictable offence.
Well, you have to show up for all of them, otherwise you get a warrant.
Yeah.
So an indictable offence is an offence that will be heard by a judge or judge and jury. A summary offence is generally heard by a magistrate.
Magistrate. Yeah.
So you've got in Victoria, in Australia, we've got different levels. The lowest level of magistrate is called what?
So an indictable offence
Coroner.
is an offence that
Will be heard by judge or
Judge and jury.
judge and jury.
Quite a few of them.
So what was your question?
summary.
So a summary offence is generally heard by a magistrate. Although you'll find references in the Act where it says it's an indictable offence but may be heard summarily. So basically it means it's an indictable offence, which will carry a higher penalty, but it can be heard by a magistrate's court.
So basically summary offences are in magistrates and
Basically, look, it can be
indictable or
Yeah, you can have summary offences
county and above.
county above.
Yeah.
So basically, you can have a summary offence heard at a higher court, and you can have indictable offence heard at a lower.
Magistrates. Yeah, so
magistrate.
bad indictable
It can-
offences are
it can.
magistrates.
It depends on the police and what they want to do.
Bloody over my head, I've never had anything to do with courts before.
So yeah, well, it's actually up to
I haven't
You're a
for 6
goody-goody.
years, thank God. But,
it's up to the prosecutor to make that determination. The prosecutor may decide, and our local council, Les Ostrowski or Skoskoby or whatever his name is, he was the local police prosecutor. So basically, but also the Department of Public Prosecutions may decide that it's an indictable offence, but we'll hear it in a magistrate's court, or they may decide that it's a summary offence, we'll hear it in a higher court, in a county court. So yeah, we have the lowest level is the coroner. They've got no authority to issue fines. They've got no authority to put anyone in jail.
Only
All they should do is
recommendations,
make
isn't it?
recommendations. That's all they can do. And they may recommend to the Department of Public Prosecution the person in charge. And then the Department of Public Prosecution will make an investigation and say, yes, we agree with you and we'll charge them. But the coroner really has no power whatsoever. other than
Coroner?
regulations.
They just always well, it's what do they say? Coroner's report.
Yeah, that's
It's just
right.
a report.
All they can do is make recommendations. And they may recommend that someone be charged. And you'll hear them talk. You watch TV enough or watch the news, you'll hear them say they'll recommend to the DPP that someone be charged. And so that's off to the DPP to go and do the investigation and make sure there's a case, a strong case. The magistrate will have a fair idea that there's enough evidence to prosecute.
Coroner.
The coroner will listen to all the information. And so they'll go, I reckon there's enough evidence here for a conviction. And so they'll recommend that to go to the DPP to pursue.
And it's reviewed and
Yeah. So but yeah, because they've got the county court as the lowest judge, and then they go right through to the Supreme Court, High Court.
Gosh, it's just bloody minefield.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
just from my long days at school.
Yeah,
I've
it's just
never
a-
had any exposure to that ever.
Yeah,
That's
just-
good. Keep it that
Yeah,
way.
keep it that way. It's not fun.
It's
not fun at all.
To go a few times.
But It's yeah, that's what we'll do. We'll stop for a break. But yeah, that'll be subject to change. I reckon that'll happen within the next 12 months. That'll change. I reckon it's got enough horsepower, and the government's got enough support in court for it to happen. So I reckon that will change in the next 12 months. So
Yeah, I've heard it's going to help.
yeah, it's
You
been
hear
on the news.
about
We've
it,
been talking
yeah.
about it on the news. So we'll stop for a break at that point, and I'll pause the recording.
You take the 6 out of
Yeah, court's no fun job, eh?
Yeah,
Hey.
Court's no
to
fun.
consult.
Having your fate in someone else's hands is
Yeah, no thanks, yeah.
scary.
I went to court.
I've always
I
been
went to
Mrs.
court for a long,
Cautious.
long time, but the last time I went,
I won't be.
Yeah,
Back before I
got
had
done
my
for a
daughter, I
time,
wasn't.
conference,
I grew up
I was a
I
real
grew
rebel.
I grew up Jehovah's Witness,
Anyway, they
so
bashed me, locked me up for a couple of
they're
hours.
different.
I was thrown out at home at 14 and had break.
And that's
No, now my son's born.
the same as,
Yeah.
So now we're
Good
recording again,
night.
everybody.
which is
Oh, no.
listing duty
Back to
holders.
work.
The fun
Is
is
it like this
over.
and some?
Hmm?
Well, this is some too.
Yeah,
Not all of them.
the same, but yeah, it's,
They're different. Because there's about 14 duty holders. And
Yeah.
I've asked them to focus in on just 4 of them.
but then you want,
Who's
so you
playing?
just want, for number 6, you just want us to list
Wayne.
them all
These hasn't drawn
At least 4 of them.
no, there's
No,
4 of them
6.
already listed.
in
Is
8.
it? In 8.
In 6, we're researching the 2 documents,
to find out others.
the 14.
Yeah, well, there's about 4 now. Don't take that.
So is that what
Yeah.
you mean, document and document?
Yes.
Yeah,
Well, then mostly, I'll tell you now, most of them have got work safe, employers, employees. But there's also other people.
yeah, like
Because
your
they're-
designers,
they've got their-
suppliers.
There's Oreos. We'll talk about Oreos soon.
Yeah,
They're not Oreo cookies, they're Oreos. I'll talk about them soon.
These just want to document.
What did you just
14.
reference in your book?
question 6.
Right,
What's
what about
question
question 6? What do we?
It's acts and regs.
Documents refers to
Yeah,
the Act book
yeah.
and the Reg book. That's what it
When you
refers to.
say we talk about the legislation documents, I'm talking about both books.
Both books.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right. If I'm
documents.
talking about just the act, I'll say the act. If I'm talking about just the regs, I'll say the regs. If I'm talking about legislation documents, I'm talking about both.
Yeah.
So, right, this is section 35. This is a bit of a long one.
All who have legal responsibilities.
So this is a bit of a long one. This is section 35, the duties of employers to consult with employees. So when doing any of the following things, an employer must, so far as reasonably practical, so they've got to make their best attempt to consult in accordance with the section with the employees of the employer who are likely to be directly affected by the employer doing that thing. So that sounds all a bit long-winded. But basically what it's saying is that employers have got to consult with their employees in a workplace. It talks about they've got to consult with them about identifying and assessing hazards or risks to health or safety at the workplace. So they should be talking, employers should be talking to employees about identifying and or assessing hazards. So they should be asking you to help you. So most times businesses will have a hazard
It's like you
report.
take 5.
Hazard report form
Yeah.
or a risk assessment or something like that. That's identifying them as a hazard report or a safety walk or whatever your workplace does to identify hazards. There's a whole range of different activities that go on. I'm not going to, if I start talking about it, it gets confusing because we're only talking about the law.
Concern report.
So assessing is basically assessing the hazards. And B is making decisions about measures to be taken to control the risks. So the first one is about identifying and assessing hazards or risks. B is making decisions about measures to be taken to control. So when we talk about controlling hazards and risks, what are some of the controls that can be put in place to manage hazards or risks?
Open JHAs,
Guards,
swims, guardrails, stuff like that.
personal protective equipment,
Yeah.
substitution.
Manuals on how to
Yeah,
operate.
so all that is control. A control, when we're talking about a hazard, is something put in place to protect you from it. So whatever that control is, it might be safety boots, it might be safety glasses, it might be a chemical suit, it might be
The
it might put you in an isolation room, it's isolated from noise.
Having a sentry for a confined space.
Yeah,
stuff
it could
like that.
could be putting a guard on a machine. It could be any of those. So C, they're supposed to consult with employees about making decisions about the adequacy of facilities for the welfare of employees. So what are facilities and what is welfare?
Toilets,
Yeah,
lunchrooms.
Lunchrooms.
Lunchroom. Yeah.
Heating, cooling.
Welfare is in the nice
So
environment.
they got so they must
Clean environment.
they must consult with you about how adequate those facilities are for your welfare.
Yeah, like toilets in the town room. Non-existent at the moment. Well,
it's probably once. That's what
Yeah.
I like. That's what I like.
well, there weren't any in
It's a big-
place.
That's actually an English one for all people who drive heavy vehicles. That accessibility to clean all facilities. So it's just a minimum possibility.
You know what? My hat goes off to you as a bus driver. My ex, he owned a bus company up in Newcastle, and I tell you what, no, it's not for me. Not for me.
Jeff's the same.
Ugh.
So this one here is a bit different because we're actually talking about doing stuff here. Now this one is actually talking about the procedures. So they're going to talk to you about the procedures for resolving health and safety issues at the workplace. So that's issue resolution, which is mentioned in the regs.
What was that?
Issue resolution. So that's actually mentioned in the regs. You'll find a section on issue resolution in the regs. They must consult with you. They must have a procedure. So we're talking about here is having procedures in place for resolving health and safety issues, and they must have a procedure in place for consulting with you. So they've got to have a procedure about how to consult with you. They must have a procedure around monitoring the health of you. So these are 3 procedures the business must have. So, Michael, have you got those procedures in place in your workplace?
Mhm.
No, I mean, it's good if you have, but
Yep.
many,
What about a consulting one? It's not very common, is it?
no,
No,
no.
they
Consulting's
try and
not.
lay down their law.
It's, I haven't seen, Hanson didn't have a consulting procedure.
Yeah. But yeah, this is actually about having procedures. This one, it's a bit odd.
Yeah.
There's all the stuff talks about other stuff, but this actually talks about having procedures in
Yeah,
place.
making
So you've got
decisions.
the driver's manual open.
Yeah.
They might not be in there. It might be on the intranet side. It's got issue resolution in it. That's probably the most common one.
And
So they actually must have, you're saying that what they're saying is they must have a procedure for consulting with employees.
Yep.
Wow, and
Yeah,
no,
so
don't they have resolution issue and monitoring of health, but not consulting?
It's not uncommon.
Right.
The bosses wouldn't read the act in this much detail.
Mm-mm.
So it's just, so you can have more knowledge than they are, which is fine. That's okay. That's why you're here. That's the whole
So
point.
these 3, and what about, and 4, it's actually 4 provide information and training, so it's actually 4, is it?
Yeah, that's another one about, that's about having a procedure for providing information and training. So you've got to be a procedure around. So they must consult with you about the procedures for any of the following. So, well, no, it doesn't say they have to have them. What it does say is making decisions about the procedures.
We'll often have staff meetings a couple of times a year.
Yeah.
To bring up any issues and.
But there is a procedure around that one.
Yes, yeah.
That sits in the Act.
Which one's that, sorry?
The first one, that is mentioned in the Act.
Resolving health and safety
In the
issues.
regs, that is also mentioned in the regs.
Yeah. It is, yeah.
That's mentioned in the Act.
I don't know.
Section
There's any
21.
health ones.
Which one? The,
The last one is mentioned in section 21 of the
yeah,
Act.
providing information and training, yeah.
So it doesn't say they have to have a procedure for it though, but if the business does have procedures for them, then they've got to consult with you about them. Determining the membership of any health and safety committee. So if your workplace has a health and safety committee, then they don't need to consult with you now because it's already established.
That's just me.
So, however, if they decide they want to start a health and safety committee, then they must consult with employees. So if your workplace already has a committee, then there's no need for this. However, if they don't have a committee and they decide, if you've done a 5-day course, then, so
Last year.
So technically speaking, you now have the power to ask them to establish a health and safety committee. And once you ask them, they have to do it. Okay, that's the law. The law requires them. Once you ask, the law says they have to do it. Now, the law also then goes on to say that once they decide, they have to consult with the employees about what the membership is. So basically, they should go. You go, okay, Mr. Dyson, I want a health and safety committee. Okay, we have to do that. So what then they have to do is go to the employees and say, what should be the makeup of our health and safety committee? So basically, what should be the membership of our health and safety committee? Mind you, the membership the numbers is also dictated by the Act, because it says that it's got to be at least 50% of the staff have to be 50% of the committee have to be employees.
Yeah.
Do you have to have a committee?
So is that what this, is that what the section 19 refers to?
No, it's later on in the book.
It's later on.
Yeah. No, much later. It's up near the back somewhere.
Yeah.
So, no, you don't have to have a committee. There used to be, once upon a time, that said you have more than 20 employees, you have to have a health and safety committee. That's all gone. So basically, you don't have to have a committee unless someone asks for it. Unless a health and safety group asks for it.
Yeah, I've got one of the guys in the workshop that helps.
Yeah.
He's around more often than me.
Yeah,
Or they can contact me on
yeah.
So
text or email.
I'm lost because Division 6, Section 19, Occupational Health and Safety Advisory Committee.
That's advisory committee. It's not health and safety committee.
That's different. That's
Totally different. Yeah. That sits with the WorkSafe.
WorkSafe.
Yes. That's advisory committee. That's not the committee. So committee is mentioned further. It's further on the book.
This is actually broken up into all different areas, not just one.
Yeah. Proposing changes that may affect the health and safety of employees. That's a really big. That's a can of worms. So if they're going to change your workplace in some way, or change the way you do things in some way, then they typically by law have to consult with you. So, for example.
So when they introduce a work diary.
So, well, look, there's nothing wrong. That's enjoyable. So, what
town?
Well, diverting here completely. Driving hours is regulated regardless of whether it's inside 100 k's or outside 100 k's. The only difference between inside and outside 100 k's is that outside 100 k's you have to keep the logbook. Inside the 100 k's, management have to keep a record. So they could choose to make you use a logbook as part of that. That's their choice.
Pretty much.
I should call it
Haven't
right,
got one
should
here.
call it right about it.
Yeah.
The hours are regulated regardless. That's what a lot of people don't realise. That regardless of whether you're outside 100 k's or inside 100 k's, the hours are regulated. It's just that outside 100 k's, you have to be the check of the logbook. Inside 100 k's, the boss has to be the check of the logbook.
Basically now, every time we get in and out of the bus, we have to record the k's, the odometer.
Absolutely.
Every single bus. So when you're doing the lunch shift, like I did last week, 5 buses every day, in and out. So much fun.
Yeah, that's they're complying with the law. There's not too many businesses do it. So your previous employer wouldn't have done that. So they weren't complying with the law.
Well, we only started this in the last 12 months.
Yeah.
Sorry, the last 3 months.
Yeah, because the changes to the COR.
Change responsibility.
Yeah, so
well, no, this has always been law.
Yeah,
Now they've just decided this has been law when I go back 20 years ago and I was a driver trainer. That has always been the law.
Yeah,
Just some businesses have never done it.
Yeah, that's right.
So yeah, change responsibility is a whole different set of rules.
Yeah, but they've introduced a new part of it, which is safety management system, which is what that's referring to.
Yeah, no, that law's always been there.
Yeah.
It's always been there. So it's nothing new. This goes back, I reckon, 1984 when I started, or 1987 when I started being a driver trainer. That's always been the case. It's just that no one's ever enforced it, and now people are becoming more aware of it, that's all. But the law's always
Well, that's
been
what
there.
I thought anyway.
Yeah, no, the law's always been there. That's when, well, 1980 when I started driving trucks, it was up here. That's when I was going back to school for Melbourne, that's when I started using Melbourne. So, other things prescribed by the regulations. So there's anything that's prescribed by the regulations that requires consultation, and that's covered by this section as well. So, if the book talks about the management must, if the regulations talk about the management must talk to their workers, then it's basically saying that they've got to say it's pretty simple. A reference to an employee of an employer includes a reference to an independent contractor. We've already talked about that. That was in section 21 anyway. So there's nothing changed there. Employer who is required to consult with employees under subsection 1, which is what we just did, must do so by sharing with the employees information about the matter on which the employee is required to consult. So if they're required to consult about hazards, then they must share that information. For example, they must give employees a reasonable opportunity to express their views about the matter and take into account those views. Doesn't mean they have to do it. So, like if I decide, if GoTave tomorrow decides we're going to build a whole new facility down the road, and we're going to move everybody down there, then they technically must be talking to us about that process, and they must share with us information about it, give us really what you to express our views, and then take those views into account. They don't have to listen to them, but they still have to go through the process. If the employee is represented by a health and safety representative, the consultation must involve that representative. So HSRs, is everyone, well, we talk about HSRs.
Yeah, well, that's what the HSR, because they represent.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about that later. Yeah, this is a big section, this section. So it used to be 35 and 36, and up until September last year, they combined 35 and 36 into one section. Subsections 3 and 4, if the employer and the employees have agreed to procedures for undertaking consultation, the consultation must be undertaken according to those procedures. So basically, if the business has developed procedures, then you've got to follow procedures. And then it talks about employer contravenes this section is building an offence, and it's the penalty units under high. Only 180, so that's that one.
No, just all bits and pieces.
37, I think I should have a handout here about section 37.
So really, the answer to question 6.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Thank you.
No, that's the answer to question 1.
Mm.
Thank you.
So what is, while I've gone to the handout, because it's just too much to put in, on slides, so I thought I'd just do it off the handout. So this is incidents to which this part applies. So basically what this is about is incidents, there's 38 and 39 are about reporting incidents that are for people that have been hurt at work. And this basically tells you what those injuries are. So this part applies to an incident that results in the death of a person, so that has to be reported to WorkSafe. A person requiring medical treatment within 48 hours of exposure to a substance. So if I'm exposed to any sort of chemical, within 48, if I require medical treatment as a result of that stuff, I get chlorine and I have a bit of breathing trouble, I try for the doctor's within 48 hours, and that's got to be reported to WorkSafe. A person requiring immediate treatment is an inpatient in a hospital. So let's have a discussion. What's an inpatient?
Someone stays overnight. No, it's someone that is admitted to hospital.
Yeah. So if someone is in the emergency department is not, they're an outpatient.
Yeah.
It's not until they take out of the emergency department, take it to a ward, that they become an inpatient. So they're actually admitted into hospital. So up until then, they're still an outpatient. Even though here in Shep, we've got a little mini ward with 4 beds in it, sitting inside the emergency department, that for all intents and purposes looks exactly like one of the wards, but because it's still in the emergency department, then it's not classed, still classed as an outpatient. You actually haven't been admitted to the hospital.
So 37, it's...
I'll explain more when I get to 38.
Yeah, but it's being things that need to be reported to WorkSafe.
Yep.
Okay.
It's a bit weird because you would think that they would have 38 first, which
So
basically says that, notifiable incidents.
Notifiable,
Yeah, you'd think that it's a bit back to front because it says the following should are notifiable incidents, but they haven't done that. They've done the notifiable incidents first and then tell you what you have to do about it. That's a bit weird. Anyway, that's not much longer.
That's where I was sort of lost.
So the person requiring immediate medical treatment for the amputation of any part of his or her body. Immediate medical treatment for a serious head injury. So if I had to trot it down, if I'd done this in work and trot it down, you could argue it's a serious head injury. A serious eye injury, the separation of his or her skin from underlying tissue, such as degloving or scalping. Electric shock, which is quite interesting because you can have electric shocks, like a small electric shock or you have a big electric shock, but it does say requiring immediate medical treatment. So if it's serious enough that you'll be taken down and get medical treatment, then it's notifiable. A spinal injury, again, it's about medical treatment. The loss of a bodily function, medical treatment, and a serious laceration. That's medical treatment for a serious laceration.
What about chipped
Stitches.
tooth?
Stitches is medical
That's loss of
treatment.
bodily function.
No, it's not. It's not notifiable.
Oh, it's not.
Sorry.
If the tooth's knocked out and they have to go to hospital and get it put back in, then that would be medical treatment.
In a way, it's a
Well,
sort
we
of
had an
education,
apprentice.
isn't it?
We had an apprentice chip half his tooth off. He had to go to the dentist and get it redone. I think we reported it.
Yeah, that's fine. It's better. Sometimes it's better to report than not report. Sometimes you ring up to report, they will say, "I had it happen here." I say, "Look, you don't really need to report that." I said, "Look, I want you anyway." They'll, as soon as they give me the detail, they'll start recording it. And I say, "Look, this is not really notifiable." I said, "Don't care, I'm not recording it."
Because after 6 months, he chipped it again.
Yeah, of course it did.
That kid there is crazy.
It's called, there's a show on Netflix called Highway Through Hell.
Yeah.
There's a bloke, I love watching it. I'm
I've
watching it.
watched all 4 or 5 seasons.
Yeah, I'm watching. I'm going back through it again.
Yeah.
And there's a bloke who lost his license for too many driving offences, and the boss has told him he's going to lay him off and he's going to get the sack. And he goes into the job, and all of a sudden he's we're back.
Oh,
Robert.
Yeah.
You can see Joey. He was just seething. Like he was the owner of the business was just seething.
That was on Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
I watched because I went up to Coca-Cola.
Oh, okay. Well, wife and I was talking about it. We think we wanted to watch it on TV, and we told me not to do it. But I won't do it in the middle of winter.
It looks nothing like it in summer.
Yeah, it's just a beautiful drive. We like going to Mount Hotham. It's a nice drive, yeah. So a serious laceration, generally speaking, is look. I've had lots of nurses tell me that gluing is not a serious laceration.
No.
However, stitches, well, it depends on how many stitches. If it's 2, is it a serious laceration? So is it 6? Is it a serious laceration? Is it 12? Is it 24? Let WorkSafe make the determination because it's more about what happened than the injury itself. If that makes sense?
You sort of think about it like, I suppose if they do sustain an injury that you don't think is a significant or reportable injury, and then there's consequences after that injury that person ended up having.
Yeah, that's
Well,
a
that's a
perfect
perfect
work cover issue,
yeah.
WorkSafe issue. So that's an insurance issue. We're not touching on work cover at all.
Yeah. Okay.
We will be later on in the course, but not right now.
Mm.
Yeah, from a work cover point of view, absolutely. But from a purely it's not so much for this part. It's not so much about the injury. It's about what occurred.
Yeah.
So is there potential for somebody else to get the same injury? So really, how many stitches is irrelevant. It's about if it's a serious enough laceration that needs to be reported, then WorkSafe may investigate because it could happen again to somebody else, and that's their focus. That we've got to try and prevent this sort of stuff from happening to other people. So we had a young guy using a handsaw out of our apprentice builder using a handsaw, and it jumped and it cut him across here, and he got 3 stitches. We ummed and ahed about reporting it. We reported it, and WorkSafe showed up and did an investigation. A month later, must have nothing to do, must have been a quiet day. But he showed up, and interestingly, the apprentice was there on the day that he showed up. So the HSR, it was me and the other OHS person were there. The manager happened to be on site, the apprentice happened to be on site, and the trainer happened to be on site. So the WorkSafe people had a bit of a field day, and he used it as an educational process more than anything. But he wanted to know what the apprentice was doing with the handsaw that made it jump off. I mean, we'd already gone through the process, but we let him do it. He was obviously abusing himself. But basically, what is happening? He had it in a vice, and a bit of timber was this long. Timber should have been this long. But it started doing this. The timber, because it was that long, it had a chance to move, and so it had a chance to jump out. But if you had it down in the vice, it wouldn't. It was a bit like the old ruler. You know, the steel rulers on the end of the table. You get it up. Yeah, it's just basically that's what it was. It's just the bit hanging out was too long, which made it move, which allowed the saw to jump off and cut his hand. If you had it further down the vice, it would have happened. So, but we already established that. But through our investigation, because we're the investigator, obviously. So then it goes, this part also applies to an incident that exposes a person in the immediate vicinity to an immediate risk to the person's health and safety. The collapsing, overturning, failure or malfunction of or damage to any plant with the regulations prescribed must not be used unless that plant is licensed or registered. Forklifts is an easy one, boilers is an easy one. So any plant that is required to be licensed has to be notified. The collapse or failure of an excavation or any shoring support of an excavation, so if you're digging trenches and it collapses. The collapse or partial collapse of all or part of a building or structure. An implosion, explosion or fire, which is really interesting. How many places have fire? How many workplaces have fires and actually notify the work safety that there's been a fire? Even if it's small, it doesn't say how big the fire is. It says implosion, explosion, we find a rubbish bin in the corner. It doesn't say that, it just says implosion, but what it does say, to an incident that exposes a person in immediate vicinity to an immediate risk to the person's health and safety to a fire. So you've got to go back and read and then read down. So if you do that, it actually makes a lot more sense. This part also applies to an incident that exposes a person in immediate vicinity to an immediate risk to the person's health and safety through the collapse overturning. To an incident that exposes a person in immediate vicinity to an immediate risk to that person's health and safety through an explosion, explosion or fire. So it's about the potential for somebody to get hurt. So it's not about the size of the event, it's actually about the potential for people to get hurt, which is what I was saying earlier. The escape, spillage or leakage of any substance, including dangerous goods, within the meaning of the Dangerous Goods Act 1984. Immediate risk to the person's health and safety through the fall or release from height of any plant, substance or object. So if I'm on a building site and I'm working underneath, the roof tiler is up there and he drops his hammer and goes whistling past my ears and just misses me.
That's the object.
The fall or release from any height. So immediate vicinity to an immediate risk to the person's health and safety. So yes, it was. The release from height of any plant. We know by the definition of plant what that means. It includes tool. So that would be a notifiable incident. Let's talk about the inrush of water. Sorry, that's the rest of mine. And then we start to talk about mines. So a quarry is not a mine, it's a mine's a mine. So, the overturning or collapse of any plant or the rate inrush of water, mud or gas, interruption of maintenance systems of ventilation or any other circumstances described by the regulations. And it goes down the bottom to talk about medical treatment. Medical treatment's got to be provided by somebody who's a health practitioner. So it can't be like a
First aid.
First aider. Now mine, it goes on to talk about what a mine is. If your workplace falls into one of those, go on in and your workplace is a mine.
Okay.
If your workplace, mine means the workplace which work is being done under the mining licence granted under the Mineral Resources Sustainable Development Act 1990.
Mine means a workplace in which under mining licence. So would a work authority?
I mean, the boss would know they've got that or not.
Well, we work under a work authority, but yeah.
Workplace which exploration in the form of underground work, drilling from the surface for coal bed, methane is being done on an export licence. So in relation to the tourist one, where's the tourist one around here?
Then you go Ballarat.
So we're drill and blast, like the whole.
So it's not too good in my mind. Unless you follow that first part, where you've got a mining licence. That I would imagine you would have.
No, we've got a work authority, which is different. Yeah.
So you're not a mine. Technically, you're not a mine. Even though you're mining rock.
Yeah.
Technically, you're quarrying rock.
Quarrying, yeah.
Who knows, doing all the same things as what a mine site
Yeah, that's
do.
right. It's technically different. Yeah. It really is kind of an open cut mine, but
Yeah, well, it is really because it's drill, blast, load, and haul. So
it's similar.
and crushing plant.
But now this is where I reckon really well. So this should be before that section we just read. An employee or a self-employed person must notify the authority immediately if becoming aware that an incident has occurred in the workplace under the management and control of the employer or self-employed person. This is really odd. I'm still following this one. Can someone in the room explain to me number 2?
Yeah.
One person. And the other person injured.
That's a bit of a.
Yeah.
So if I'm a business owner and I'm the only person injured, I don't have to notify worksafe. WTF is all I got to say about that.
Yeah.
I am going to go to worksafe and get an explanation on that because I really struggle with that.
Hang on. So say that I was a chippy and I worked for myself, and the only person that got injured was me. I don't got to report that.
Okay, you cut all your fingers off with a circle of saw, no, you don't have to report it.
You're joking.
If you want your
I've been having my hands up like this for as many years as I can remember. I've got no idea what that is all about.
That is insane.
I really need to get it clarified from work, so I really need to. Because I talk about it all the time.
Struggle with it.
I just struggle what the intent is.
That says self-employed person.
So you're
It's just contradicted itself in number one.
Or otherwise
It's
harm
saying
or
an
exposed to
self-employed
risk.
person must notify the authority
yeah,
immediately.
no, but
Yeah,
it says here for the other person injured. Up here, no.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, so it's very different.
Yeah,
So
okay.
if I'm a self-employed person and I employ you,
Yeah.
then I've got to notify. However, if I'm the self-employed person and I hurt myself, I don't have to.
Oh,
Yeah.
but you've
Shoot
got no other
yourself in the foot with
employees.
a nail gun.
Well, you could
You can have 20
employees,
employees, but
doesn't
you're the
matter.
only one that's
If I'm the
hurt.
boss, I
So,
hurt myself, I don't have to report.
Oh, right. That's what I was trying to work out.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make any logical sense.
If you shoot one of us with a nail gun, you've got to report it. But if you shoot
Exactly.
yourself, you
I
don't.
yeah, but is that more so to prevent people doing dodgies?
No, I don't know. It doesn't make
You know
any
what I mean?
sense.
But
I've had
it's
all
only,
the arguments thrown at me.
it's only to work safe, not work cover.
That's right. It's not an insurance claim. It's about a notifiable
Yeah.
incident.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, that's actually,
Weird.
yeah.
To separate work safe and work cover are two different things. But yeah, for me, it defies a little bit of logic. I don't know.
My brother's a tradie. He's got his own business, actually. He's a roofer. I'm going to ring him tomorrow and I'm going to give him a bit of a questionnaire.
My wife does family daycare. She's a subcontractor with the Shepparton City Council. So her bosses require her to report to them if she hurts herself, which is fine, that's internal policy. But she wouldn't have to report it to work safe.
Yeah.
So you could argue, is it their responsibility to report it?
Yeah.
As
Yeah,
a
that's blown
subcontractor,
my mind. That is.
whether they're on your property or not.
Yeah, it actually brings up all sorts. Anyway, within 48 hours, so must notify them, and that I'll just go. Must notify the authority immediately after becoming aware. So let's just look at those words for a sec. Could be 7 days later.
Then you become aware.
Could be 7 days later. And look, that has happened. We've had it happen here where it's been 3 or 4 days, where the person injured has notified their supervisor. The supervisor, through one reason or another, hasn't notified the OHS department. That was our process. I'm not sure if there's any more, but it was our process. And so when they notify us, so we notified WorkSafe, immediately we become aware. It might have been 3 or 4 days
A lot
later.
of companies have
For
policies
our
that
point of
you
view,
have to
it's
do
quite
it within
unacceptable.
24 hours.
Yeah, but then it talks to the next page. It talks about within 48 hours of notifying WorkSafe, they have to provide a written record of the incident to WorkSafe. So even though it's 7 days after the event, potentially we've notified WorkSafe, but once we've notified them, we've got 48 hours to provide a written report to them. And the written report is a standard format. Because if you ring WorkSafe, they'll give you a number, like a reference number, and then you go onto their website and there's a form electronic form that gets filled in, and you put that reference number in there. So there's a link between when it was reported and when it got paperwork got done, basically.
Did you turn the video back on?
And the next part is the employer or self-employed person keep a copy of the record for at least 5 years and make available for inspection of the inspector, which is really odd because that's where it goes. But anyway, you won't go there. Basically, just test and see if we've kept it. A person or representative of a person injured in an incident whose health and safety was immediate risk. So that's so the inspector can have it. The person or representative of a person injured in an incident or whose health and safety was exposed to immediate risk. So if you're a HSR, health and safety rep, are you a representative of a person?
Yes.
Yes.
If you're there in your work group, absolutely you are. A representative of a person whose death was caused by an incident. So that doesn't necessarily mean that could be a legal person.
Lawyer or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the case only of an employer, if the employees of the employer are members of a designated work group, a health and safety representative of the designated work group, the members of each health and safety committee to be established by the employer. So basically, it's also notify the HSRs and health and safety committee of the incident as penalty attached. Does that all make sense? Gets quite detailed, doesn't it? You know, we're only up to section 38.
Do we go through the whole book in this?
No. Take a breath, it's all right. I'm only picking out.
Why did I sign up for this again?
Yeah. Look, this is what I'm doing is just explaining what it all means. Because look, if you look at the unit of competence, it actually doesn't say it down in this much detail, but it does say you should have a working knowledge of the legislation. So what I'm doing by going through it is giving you that working knowledge, so that you feel comfortable. I understand you're only learning, but at least you understand the intent of the book and where to reference a part of the book and what the book actually contains. So and that's all. I'll start backing off on the details soon, and we just start looking at an overview of the different sections rather than just going into so much detail, because these parts are important, And I guess that's my determination based on the fact I used to be an OHS coordinator, and this qualification is kind of where that's aimed. Knowing what I needed to know to do my job. 39, an employer or self-employed person who is injured is required to notify the authority of incident that has occurred at a workplace, must ensure the site where it has occurred is not disturbed until the inspector arrives at the site. Other time, the inspector directs when the authority is notified of the incident. So,
that makes sense. We had an excavator roll over of that solar farm earlier this year.
Yep.
It sat like that for a bit over a week.
Yeah.
So that's obviously because the inspector couldn't get out to assess it. Yeah. Okay. Yep.
Yeah. And what will happen is, I get notified of this, I ring WorkSafe and say, this has just happened, I'll say, don't touch anything until we get there. But it does go on to say,
Unless someone was in a life and death situation.
Yeah, there's more.
39.
I don't know why I put it on there. So
To preserve the incident sites, despite subsection 1, a site may be disturbed for the purpose of A, protecting the health or safety of a person, or B, aiding an injured person involved in an incident, or C, taking essential action to make the site safe and prevent a further occurrence of an incident.
What page is that on, Dom?
41.
Yeah. So, I don't know why I put that. I thought I put that in there. So if people need first aid treatment or medical treatment,
then you can.
Obviously, access.
So, however, if someone's dead, then you may be directed not to touch them. So
Clear the site.
WorkSafe will come in. But they use still the directions there. Also, that third part is about making the site safe so that no one else gets hurt. So there's all those little chippy bits of, reasonably practical stuff. So 40, 41, and 42 are all to do with license and registration of plants. So I'm not going to go into any detail about that at all. Just you just need to know that it's there. Forward sections 43 to 52. So I told you we're going to get some skipping through them. This is to do with designated work groups. Does anyone know what a designated work group is?
Group of people working in designated work area.
Yeah, very good. Designated work group. It's all to do with, a workplace may decide that different areas of businesses are designated work groups. And it could be if you're say, Churumel. So you might have the dry plant, They make milk powders, they have the butter plant, they have the wet plant, they make milk, they might have the transport, they might have the warehousing, they might be all different designated work groups within the business.
We had
Yeah,
that
we'd
whole
have
thing, we had
Yeah.
the logistics side of it, which is the forkies, truck drivers.
Yeah.
And you had the panel installers who would put the panels up, and you had the mechanical steel erectors, so doing all that, and you had the labourers that were just going around picking up rubbish.
Yeah.
But they were all designated work groups.
Yeah. So here, up until recently, our designated work groups were by building. So
Okay.
this was
Yeah.
one designated work group.
Yeah.
Because in this building, really, as far as employees, 6, maybe 12 employees, 14 employees in this building. So it's enough for a designated work group. So
Or does it need to be a certain amount? of
no,
people?
it could be 100.
Yeah.
Not a good idea, but it could
Yeah.
be. There's no, it's up to the business in consultation with the employees to decide what that's going to be. But we were doing it by building. So this building had one HSR. The bottom floor had one, the second floor had one, the third floor had one. Over there was quite a few, so there's a lot of stuff going on in our main office. The other building had 2. We've got automotive and engineering, so they had 2 HSRs. So but now we've gone with departments. So health have got HSRs and hospitality have got HSRs, and if that makes sense. So they've now gone with basically the skill trade, or whatever you like to call them.
Because the HSR of one group may know nothing about how
That's
they
right.
operate.
Yeah, so I could be the HSR of this building. We've got electrical here, we've got sales and marketing, we've got baking. So you don't have to. And so is it fair that I should be the HSR of those people? Because really, they're supposed to be people that I work with and understand their jobs. So that's why they've gone down the path they have. They've basically gone.
It makes more sense that way.
Yeah.
It does.
So if you have hospitality,
Yeah.
well, they include front of house, back of house, and baking.
Yeah.
So that includes waiting staff, cooking staff, and as well as our bakery guys. It's all one designated work group. All the health, so that could be nursing, aged care, all sitting in one area as well. And it's done by campus as well. So they'll have a HSR for health here, and they'll have a HSR for health in Mangarata, they'll have a HSR. Yeah. So it just depends. We're apparently getting a new campus soon too.
Where?
Oh, shit. I'm sure we've got a campus wherever now. So the employer has a right to ask the employer to take steps to establish designated work groups. The members of the designated work group elect one of the members of their group to be a health and safety representative. So basically, once the designated work groups are established, the management then says, okay, for that designated work group, I ask for nominations for health and safety reps for that area, and then people will either nominate themselves or they'll get nominated. And if there's more than one person nominated, then there's an election. There's an election. If there's only one person nominated, then that person's elected unopposed. So that's pretty standard stuff. That's just normal process. The health and safety representative can request the establishment of a health and safety committee. The organisation appoints management representatives, so that's 22(1)(c). So this goes on the election of HSRs. All employees are entitled to vote. Must be an employee from that group. The group decides how to conduct the election, and there is a provision for election of deputy HSRs. So not every workplace has deputies. Actually, not that many workplaces have deputies. It's a little bit unusual, but it does happen. Some bigger employers have them. You know, I run the HSR training, as does Tracy, and we don't get that many deputies come through. Most people are just HSRs. Yeah. I mean, to be a deputy HSR is the only time you step into the HSR role is when they're away. HSR's away.
Yeah.
So 4 weeks annual leave, sick leave, or other leave, then the deputy steps into the role for other 50, 48 weeks in a year. They do nothing.
So do they have to be away for a certain time?
No, it can be just for the day. Can be sick one day. The HSR can be sick, so the deputy then steps up.
I did one of mine years ago. I was there for 2 weeks and then I was away for 1 week. And one of the other boys did it while I was away.
Yeah.
And then I come back.
Yeah, so basically it was a deputy, but if you're on site, they have no power.
Yeah.
So, a bit of a thankless one, that one. Because, you know, if it's a business where everybody goes on holidays at the same time, unless you're sick or take long service leave, then it's a bit pointless.
So you're better off having 2 HSRs anyway.
That's right.
Mm.
Yeah, at least they both have the same power.
Mm.
And
What if
covers,
they disagree?
it covers that base of when people are away as well.
Yeah.
So, and they got both got power though. So it's
So a deputy, does he has to do the course too? Doesn't
Yeah.
he? You can't just say,
she, they,
yeah, well, like, yeah,
It,
sorry.
Technically, you don't need to do the course to be a health and safety worker, do you?
yes, you do.
Yes.
Yeah, you do.
Oh,
Yeah.
you do now?
Under the law.
Absolutely. You've got no HSRs
must be
have
trained.
have detailed powers that you can only do once you've done the training.
You know what's really
Really?
funny though?
I've been HSR for years. I haven't done the HSR course.
It's HSR in
Technically, yeah,
Melbourne and Queensland, or WA, sorry, whichever one coincides. But everywhere else, they're considered HRs, human resources.
Yeah.
There's no,
Well, health and safety representatives, yeah. In the Act, the Health and Safety Acts have got across Australia, it's the same. They're all health and safety reps. And they are basically workers from the group that are like-minded, if you like.
yeah. Because when I first read it, HSR, I'm like, what is that?
Health and safety rep.
Because I'm used to HRs. That's,
That's HR department, human resources.
Yeah.
It's very different, very, very different.
yeah.
This
There's
is
an
basically,
S in there.
this is ground floor
Yeah.
workers who have been elected by their peers to
Yeah.
represent them on health and safety matters. That's what it is.
Mm.
And with that comes a lot of power. So if you're not elected
Yes.
and you've not done the 5-day training, you're nothing.
Yeah, see, I got elected by everyone only because I had higher levels of first aid training than the other guys.
Technically not HSR.
And because of all my mining background and
You've
stuff.
got no power under the legislation at all.
Yeah.
You can't do anything.
I never knew that.
No pins.
No pins, no cease works, no nothing. Got no authority to do it.
Shit. I never knew that.
You do now.
Yeah, I do now. Yeah. Wow.
Can't do it, guys. Real
So,
sorry.
If you have the Cert 4, do you have to do the HSR
Absolutely.
course?
Absolutely.
Just checking.
So technically my work should have, because all the boys nominated me to do that, my work should have put me through.
No, that's where the breakdown of the system is.
Yeah.
You have to request the training. Once you request it,
They have.
they have to provide it. It's not up to the business to provide it.
So this is like, obviously this is work safe. So HSR training is different to this again.
Absolutely. HSR training, got no unit of competence. It's just a 5-day yapping, right?
But
This
once
is
Do you
you
just
get-
run that
This is
here?
what you're
But once
there
we get
with
this
HSR.
qualification,
That's what I'm doing tomorrow with Julie.
but once we get this qualification, that trumps the HSR
No,
training.
no.
right?
No.
You still
So you
need
still
that
can't be
training.
a HSR even if you've got this cert
No,
4.
that's right.
You're kidding.
No, you've got to do the 5-day HSR training course.
You'll
So how
just
long
be
does
more
that-
knowledgeable than most.
And how long does a HSR course go for? 5 days.
Which is usually 1 day a week.
We run it 1 day a week for 5
Yeah,
days.
we did it last year before Christmas. So I didn't.
I should have put me in up for that.
You've actually got to decide. It's up to you to request the training. And you can pick your training provider, not your boss.
We did
It
that.
was selected for us, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's
We
same
I
as
didn't
me.
have to ask for the training, it was voted.
And generally, that's what happens. Yours is a bit of an odd one.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that happening before.
That's
Yeah, I was
probably because
on a-
they're like, oh gosh, we'll try him before we buy him.
Make sure he works out before he
Because
sees
they've got
it.
to, because they've got to jump through hoops to get rid of it. It's very,
Yeah, because one of the boys quit and all the other boys nominated me to be HSR. And same thing happened years ago in WA.
That's lovely.
They all nominated me to do it.
they got one at that WorkSafe guy was talking about companies trying to get rid of because he's dropping pins left, right, and
Well,
centre.
that's actually against the law too.
Oh, yeah, they're like,
No,
I just go and see the boss.
You're doing the, oh, yours has been paid for by your boss, yeah. How much is this?
$880.
880.
you kidding?
Beautiful.
I still got a discount because I'm back up.
Your boss is supposed to pay for it. Your boss is
You're
supposed to
gonna
pay
pay
for it.
that card.
Your boss is supposed to pay for it.
Oh, yeah.
Well, not, yeah, your boss has to pay for it. So, well, while we're talking about HSRs, we'll have a bit of a flip through our book and we'll look at powers of HSRs.
Page 45,
What is it, S45?
S43, representation
Yeah,
of
43.
employees.
No, that's establishment
Part
of designated
7.
work groups.
We look at Division 5, Section 58,
Yeah, it is.
Section 58, oh yeah, that's it.
page
58.
58.
Powers of HSRs.
Oh, yeah.
So that's what a HSR can do.
Hmm.
So section 67, my friend. Friends, jump on, go to page 66 and look at 67.
Hang on, let me
Hang
take
on.
this
No.
one first.
What, page 66,
Yeah, page 66, section 67.
page 58.
Obligation to train
Okay.
health and safety representatives.
An employer
There we
must be
go.
requested by a health and safety representative for a designated work group. Allow the representative to attend the following courses: an initial course of training in occupational health and safety. After being elected, a refresher course at least once in each year after completing the initial course of training. Request to attend the course must not be made less than 14 days before the course to start. The course must be approved and conducted by the authority. Employer must allow each health and safety time off work to attend the course with pay and pay the costs associated with health and safety attendance at the course.
So when you do the refresher, that's every 12 months.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. No, we'll go back and read it.
You can do it every 12
Oh, I
months.
can. So how long does, how long
So
does
you
it,
get paid as well while you're doing the course.
How long
After
do-
law.
Yeah.
how long does a refresher last?
So powers of an HSRs on 58.
That's unbelievable.
Right.
Yeah.
When did you-
Hang on.
I worked for, I was
58.
for a company that
Powers.
worked
Yeah,
for
already-
Adelphis site, not Adelphis.
So
Massive.
66
I'm surprised
Yeah.
one
are
Adelphis
the obligations to train.
OH&S officer.
Right.
Never
Where
came
was
here.
it? Was it West Australia?
No, this was in Townsville last year.
Well, they're under the WHS Act, and
Yeah.
that would be, it's exactly the same.
So, and Monadelphis is a massive company, Australia-wide, international. I'm surprised their OH&S officer, or workplace health and safety officer, never came through and asked if we'd all done the training. That's a massive, wow.
Things you don't
I was
know
on that
about.
job for 4 months.
Must have been over.
Every Monday I was at a meeting.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Got you out of work.
Because it says there, employer must, if requested by a health and safety representative.
Yes, well, I never knew that. I just
So
thought.
they
it was
don't have to
something-
provide it.
No, they kept that shut.
Don't you have to ask
Cheeky
for
little
it.
buggers.
And the same as you have to ask for the refresher course.
I didn't know about it. So when I did it with Czech Transit, I got the 1-day refresher course. I'm going, what? What?
Yeah.
So how often should you use a refresh training?
Well, Tracy and I both agree, probably every 2 to 3 years. Doing it every year is just a waste of time. Nothing much changes, so it's a bit pointless.
Hey, listen, you get paid.
So,
Oh, look,
how can this course not trump that?
because
Yeah.
the 5-day course is a whole separate course and it doesn't line up with any units of competence. It's not recognised in New South Wales, it's not recognised in Queensland, this course is, but it doesn't, because it covers a whole stack of different stuff.
So this OH&S board does not cover what you cover in a
Well, it
health and
does,
safety.
it absolutely
course.
covers it in a different way.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same.
We go into soft skills in the HSR, like to how to negotiate with people and get results and different personality types. So it's a whole different set of stuff.
Which you don't cover in this.
No.
Oh. Okay.
We do, but not in that
Sort
sort
of,
of detail.
but
Not in the
because I
same
think
depth.
I think consultation sort of falls in that, what
Yeah.
Tracy's taking us through, sort of,
Yeah,
to me, that
Well,
sort of
you
resonates
would,
the
wouldn't
same
it?
sort of.
no, it doesn't. It can't because it's a 5-day course. It's designed by Victoria. It's designed by WorkSafe. So you know, when I shut the slides up, and see the go tape at the bottom. That's not on the slides. It's not WorkSafe on the slides.
Yeah, yeah.
So the course is designed by WorkSafe. We have to be approved and authorised to deliver the
Yeah,
training.
you've got to be the authority to
Because the
deliver it.
PIN notices get issued by HSRs,
Yeah.
not from
If
certificate
you're not
for
elected
work.
HSR, you can't issue.
PIN. Yeah, you have to be a HSR to issue a PIN.
Yeah, and to be HSR, you got to do this training.
Or an inspector.
So PIN's a provisional.
Hang on, what about inspector? So you got to do the HSR to become an inspector?
No.
No.
I
Oh,
said inspector can put on.
oh,
No, they can't put it on PIN.
Oh, no, they can take them off.
They can take it off, they can't put them on.
Yeah.
They put on an in, not a pin. They give you an improvement notice, but not a provisional
Yeah.
improvement notice. Getting confusing here. It goes on.
It's your old book. HSR book.
So they're HSRs are very different course than this one.
It's a
and
cousin.
Other states will have different requirements for HSRs, but in Victoria, the requirement is to do a 5-day course for the HSR.
so do you get like a certificate of competency
No.
for it?
No,
Just a
just
certificate
a
of
certificate.
that you've done it.
Well, that's what I mean.
That's
Like a
a
certificate of competency
No,
or
No.
a certificate of attendance.
attendance.
Yeah, there's no competence attached to it.
No,
Oh,
it's not
really?
on
Yeah,
your
you
courses.
pass
no
it because
test
you
or-
attend
There's
the
no
5
test, there's
days.
no nothing.
You
You
must
just
attend
listen.
the 5 days. So it's a
There's
certificate
no
of
test, there's no
attendance.
nothing. It's just purely information sharing.
Because if you
Because
miss,
WorkSafe believe if they give you a test, it'll scare people off. So it's about sharing information.
So I can do that whilst I'm doing this course too.
Absolutely. There's no test.
So when are you
Yeah,
doing the
but it doesn't
briefing
matter
for
if
it?
it's like
Well,
me,
this
because
we're
you-
last week, so our next one starts next week.
What day?
It'll be Thursday next week.
What times?
9 till 5.
And then you
Oh,
end up
so
like
it's during
me
the
asking
day.
any questions about heaps of shit because your brain's very different.
Hang on, let me just.
I'm not doing it while I've got interview at work. I'm going to wait until I get full-time
Hang on.
employment.
Last week, sitting in the car during the day, and he was talking, and he said, and I was like,
Yeah,
okay,
that's
that's
what I'm
strange.
gonna do.
I
Yeah,
said,
that's
I'm
what
still
I'm
stuck.
You're doing them both together, probably not a good idea.
Why?
Just worked
Oh,
out
it's just
that way.
confusing. Because we don't go into
It
much
just worked
detail
out
in the
that way.
HSR course. We're going into bucket loads of detail in this. We're going in the HSR course. It's just basically an overview.
Yeah, it's just why I find it surprising that this
It's
doesn't
just an
trump
overview of
it.
a lot of stuff, including laws is one of
So that makes no sense though. So it overviews this, but it doesn't trump this. I don't.
It focuses on what the HSR powers are.
Yes, health and safety representative
So if
within
you
the
look
work
at-
group.
Right.
if
So
you go back to-
HSRs to represent your designated work group, you're representing safety in your
Work area.
work area.
Whereas this, you can oversee safety of the plant.
This course on-
Right.
So that, this is,
So the
this
hay-
is,
Still
this is,
confused
this
with
is
is that this does not
the
trump.
certificate for
that.
in health and
Oh.
safety.
totally different.
Yeah.
So
I've
if you go
done
back-
the other
if
one.
you go back and look at 58,
Yeah,
Yes.
I see you done it.
Yes, Bob.
Yeah, I did it last year.
Page 58 or section?
5 days,
Both.
1 day a week we come in.
Usually,
so health and safety representative for a designated work group may do any of the following. So they don't have to if they don't want to.
Mm-hmm.
Inspect any part of a workplace at which a member of the designated work group works. At any time, giving reasonable notice to the employer. So basically, so if you talk about designated work group, so if this building was a designated work group and you're the HSR, you can inspect any part of this workplace at any time after giving reasonable notice to the employer. So you shoot an email to the boss saying, I'm going to inspect the workplace in 2 days' time. They have to let you do it, they've got no choice. Immediately, or you can do it immediately in the event of any situation involving an immediate risk to health and safety. So if there's a piece of equipment that's going to rip somebody's arm off, you don't have to give reasonable notice, but you can go and inspect it.
Mhm.
You can accompany an inspector during the inspection of the workplace at which a member of the designated work group works. So the inspector shows up at the front door and asks for the HSR, then you can attend. You don't have to. It says may do any of the following. Accompany the inspector may.
So sorry to interrupt. So that's the difference between a HSR and an actual WorkSafe officer is they get a choice, whereas we don't get a
Well, they're
choice.
full-time employees at WorkSafe. This is just a voluntary role.
Right.
Voluntary role.
Follow it
Yeah, this is just a voluntary role.
Yeah, righto.
So just,
Good. I get it now.
all you're doing is representing your colleagues.
Well, I'm not going to bother doing that at all.
So basically, if you like, if you look at union, like the union rep, they are the go-between between you and the employer on union matters. The HSR is the go-between between you and the employer on health and safety matters.
Oh.
But the HSR's got a bucket load more power than a union rep does. Union rep's got no power. But the health and safety rep's got legal powers. And that's what we're doing now. We're going through their legal powers. So this is what they can do if they choose to. It's because it says may. They don't have to, but they can.
Right.
They can require the establishment of a health and safety committee. If a member of your designated work group consents, you can be present in the interview. They can, if the health and safety representative is authorised to represent a person, they can, whenever it's interested, the assistant of any person, so they can go outside and ask for help. They can't pay for it or get the business to pay for it. So, the HSR also, even though it's not written here, the HSR can also issue a PIN, which is a provisional improvement notice. They can also ask for a cease of work if they believe that somebody's health and safety is a medical risk. That's in a different section. But we put them all together in one section in the court, those are from different sections of the Act.
What'd you say? Can issue a PIN and what? Sorry?
And ask for a cease of work.
Yeah.
If there's an immediate health and safety.
So they've got
But
pretty
you
good
have
power.
to
Like,
back-
They've got significant power.
Yeah.
It's legal power.
And
So if you've been elected,
you still have to consult though.
you've got to
You're doing
consult.
that.
The big thing is you've got to consult.
So
You've got to go to
always
the boss and say, I want this fixed. He says, stick in your ass. You go the next day and say, I want this fixed. You stick in your ass. And you go the third time, you say, I'm going to issue a PIN now.
shut it down.
And so, no, PIN's not shut down. PIN's just to tell them to fix it.
Yeah, I just meant.
That's all PIN is.
And if they fail, they must do that within 7 days?
Well, it's up to you. It's more than 8 days. So
Yeah, it
basically,
has to be more than 8
you sit
days.
there and say, I'm going to issue a PIN. How long is it going to take you to fix this? They say 25 days. Okay, well, 25 days are going to be fixed. You put that date on the PIN form, and then if that doesn't occur, then you get WorkSafe involved. And they have to. Once that PIN is issued, the boss has to.
So they're like the meat in the sandwich.
Yeah. So
Pretty well.
as a non-trainer, you can't do any of that. Because you're not technically not a HSR until you have to train.
That's crazy.
So I never knew that. Never knew that.
The things the bosses can get away with
Yeah.
by withholding.
Yeah.
But even I'm still surprised that the company that we were working for, because obviously
Didn't
not done
automatically
sort of
send you for
project, and we
training.
were a different. I'm surprised that because they're usually all over health and safety. They're a massive tier 1 company, and I'm surprised they never went through all of us and asked, okay, who's done training?
It's up to you to ask. If the law says, it's up to you to ask.
Yes.
But it's up to you to
Yeah.
ask.
I was told these are the dates that it's available. And we had to pick one when I came back from Canada.
So you could have actually picked your own provider too. So you might have said, well, I want to go to Melbourne, but with the TWU. And there's nothing they can do.
And they would have had to put you up in accommodation and everything.
Really?
I wouldn't tell my boss I want to do it in Queensland, up in
I'm all
Cairns.
over that. Yes, mate. Good job.
Building camps.
No.
But then it doesn't apply to Victoria.
You go stay down at Phillip Island
So,
with them
look,
penguins.
the unions all run these 5-day courses, so we're in direct competition with the unions on it. We're basically the only provider in town, so it makes it easy for people to pick. But I mean, I know the Nurses Federation come up here a lot and train, HSR training. So they've got their own 5-day HSR training course that they run.
Be specifically health orientated, wouldn't
It's
it?
actually very different to the one you would have done and you're doing, and you're done, because
Generic.
it's actually all focused around nursing. Because what we've done is used off-the-shelf one from WorkSafe, but what we could have done, what we did in the past before that became available, was designed our own course, submitted to WorkSafe, they've approved it and then delivered it. So we could have done like industry-specific stuff like the nurses have done. And like ABU run them, and there's a whole stack of unions run their own And so do some employer organisations like Becky and places like that. They run them as well. So they're employee representatives, like unions are employee representatives. Also got employer representatives, so they run them as well. So yeah, it's a bit surprising. A bit surprising.
You learned something tonight.
Yeah, but do you know what the worst thing about it? Like it's on my resume that under those companies I've worked for.
You still are. You just haven't been trained.
Yeah.
Nothing changes.
No.
You still are. You still were elected by your peers to be a health and safety.
Yeah.
It's just you've never done the mandatory training.
See, the only reason I got elected is because I'm the outspoken one. If
Yes.
something's not right.
That's not uncommon.
Yeah. Right.
You
So
gotta be
that's not safe. We shouldn't be doing that.
You've got to be happy to confront people. So
Yeah,
I
that's
sent
what I
an
do,
email
right?
the other day asking if I can see him about a couple of OHS concerns that have been raised. I said, yeah, I'll be in town tomorrow. 10 o'clock, walked into the office. We just went through the couple of issues.
Yep.
And that was it.
So HSRs for 3 years, they can be re-elected to continue. So basically, if your 3 years is up, you can, and they call for nominations, and you re-nominate, and somebody else re-nominates, and your colleagues elect you again. That's okay. That's in the rules. You can be disqualified, so they can get rid of you, but it's a fair bit of process to do that. Because you've been elected under an act of law, it will then require a magistrate to remove you from the position.
Like it's a proper judge magistrate.
Yes,
Unless you resign.
unless you resign. But so basically, if I'm your employer and I'm unhappy with how you're performing as a HSR, I just can't say you're no longer a HSR. I have to go to a magistrate's court and have you removed from being a HSR. So I've got to provide evidence to the court that justifies my reasons why I want you out.
Hence what they need to try before you buy.
Yeah.
So
You know,
that's actually really, yeah. So it's because you've been elected under a part of the Act, to get you out of that part of the Act, there's got to be another process, a legal process to do that. So it's not as simple as the boss saying, you're a pain in the ass, I don't want you to be a HSR anymore, you're out. They've actually got to go to court and convince a
So in
magistrate.
my case, even if I hadn't done the training,
Well,
do they still have to go to a
Technically
magistrate?
speaking, yes, but yeah, the HSR training is meant to be part of the gig, but technically because you're elected health and safety person for your designated work group, then yes, they will. Because it's been duly elected. The fact you haven't been trained is irrelevant. Yeah. They can also, the designated work group can resolve that HSR no longer represents them. So if I'm HSR for this building and I'm relocated to Seymour, then the designated work group's got every right to ask for me to be disqualified as the HSR.
Do they still have to go to a magistrate to do that?
No, it's done internally.
Okay.
So the disqualification, so when they go to magistrate's court,
Oh yeah, here we go.
inappropriate issuing a PIN, so basically so inappropriate can mean not consulting. So if you issue like 10 pins and got the shits with the boss, you haven't consulted them, they can then trot off to the magistrate's court and say, dodgy, want him out, or her out. Inappropriate issuing a cease work.
Again, provisional what notice?
Improvement notice. So a provisional improvement
It's
notice
in the next one.
is a provisional improvement notice is a form you get from off the website. It's it's not a duplicate. Basically, you write it out and you photocopy it. You give the original to the boss and keep the copy yourself. There's a whole range of rules around the issuing of pins. It's not just as simple as while I'm making it out sound. There is a bit of a process around issuing the pin. You've got to consult with them first. You can't just issue without consulting them. So if you don't consult, then that could be inappropriate issuing, and so you could get disqualified for that. Inappropriate issuing is ceased work, so basically going into your college and say this is unsafe, 12th hour we're going home. Again, done without consultation, and if it's really not unsafe.
Pretty much consultation is a big part of it.
Huge part of it. Yeah. Misuse any information the HSR has acquired for business for the purpose of not. So basically, if you take stuff you shouldn't take, information, and use it elsewhere. We've already touched on that. So that's what the powers for HSR can do. So we've touched on that. I'll finish this set of slides by saying nothing in his act or regulation imposes or is taken to impose a functional duty of the safety capacity. So basically, it's a voluntary law. So even though you have all those powers there, you can choose to not do them. There's no mandatory requirement for you to do those things. So basically, you can get elected by your peers, you can come along and do 5 days training and go back and do nothing. And there's not much they can do about it. Other than
magistrates.
Yeah, go to the magistrate and say they're just not doing their job. Or your colleagues decide that they don't like it anymore, they're not doing their job. So 8 minutes to 9. I call the meeting closed.
Geez,
I'll give you that.
7:30 we had a break. All of a sudden it's 9 o'clock.
Yeah. That's not my fault, it's 8 minutes to 9.
Oh, well, close enough.
With
Geez, that went quick.
inspectors, sentencing options.
Holy moly.
Control.
I know, right?
Relevant acts.